T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up
Woo. If you're scared, go to church, baby. But if you're here to learn, if you want to be the coolest, if you want to be in the best situation possible when it comes to Reptile Podcast, well, you're here. You're tapped in, baby. You are now tapped into the coolest Reptile Podcast in the world. I'm your boy, MJ. What is good? Happy motherfucking Sunday. Hope you guys are having a beautiful week. Hope you guys are ready to end this week with a dash of fucking awesomeness because, guys, tonight's episode is going to be great. If this is your first time tapping in, what is good? I'm your boy, MJ. Do your boy a favor. Hit that like button. Make us relevant to YouTube. It's important to me. It's important to the guests. So if you guys tap that like button or hit it, whatever the fuck, just hit that thing, man. It would mean everything to me. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That way you're on top of every single podcast I drop here on the Snake Trap Sessions channel. I also drop a weekly vlog. Got a lot of stuff coming out of this channel, so I would hate for anybody to miss it. So if you out there hit all those, things, you're going to be on top of everything. So yeah, man, I appreciate all the love and support. Shout out to all the early birds in the comments right now. I'll get to you guys in just a second. But you guys know what the deal is. That's right. Freshest and bestest rodents delivered to your doorstep. That's coldbloodedcafe.com. Day one pinks to the mammoth rats. I love Coldblooded Cafe. They are the best. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to almost did that again. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to Desiree. Coldblooded Cafe team leading the frozen rodent industry by far and just killing it. Big things. Love you guys. Cannot wait to tap in with you guys soon at the Arlington show. And I would like to say shout out to Sim Containers. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to John. Sim Containers is where it's at. If you got eggs, put them inside of a sim box. And I'm telling you right now, those babies are going to hatch as long as your incubator is working. But I'm telling you, I hatch everything out of a sim container. And that's just the way it works. If you guys want to learn more about Sim Container, go check them out on Instagram, and you can kind of see how they run their monitor game and whatnot. I'm coached a lot by these guys, so you guys go check them out. Shout out to John, shout out to Alex. Appreciate you guys' support. This is Steven and Ashley of Focus Cube Habitats. Thank you so much for the sponsor, guys. And listen, I'm standing in a room that's just within a couple months, if less, is going to be decked out in Focus Cube Habitats. Over 12 enclosures on the way. And I can't wait. I'm telling you right now, you guys got to go check it out yourself. I only fuck with the best. If you guys know me, I only fuck with the best, from my guest to what I put my snakes in. Telling you right now, Focus Cube Habitats, where it's at, PVC built enclosures, very easy to move, very durable. And I'm telling you, Reptile should definitely be in a focus cube habitat if you are looking to do that as far as keeping snakes or reptiles, lizards, doesn't matter. Focus cube habitats, that's where it's at. Shout out to Jesse and the entire Freedom Breeder crew. After I just dumped some money over at Focus Cube Habitat, god dang it, I just spent some money over at Freedom Breeder. So guys, it is finally going to happen. I have Freedom Breeder racks about to be built. It is fucking happening. God damn, is it expensive, but is it worth it? I am so excited. Finally doing it. Finally doing things right. Finally going to make this thing look like I'm doing it professional. Bye-bye Home Depot racks. Man, what a journey. But guys, I'm telling you right now, if you ever get to that point and you're like, I want to invest in some racks, I really would like to have some amazing breeder racks for my snakes, or I would like to have some amazing rodent racks to breed some rodents in. Don't look further than Freedom Breeder. They are the best. The original stainless steel racks built in the United States. #1 by far. So, guys, go check them out. Jesse, thank you so much for working with me. Shout out to the entire Freedom Breeder crew for making that turnaround only about 10 weeks, 11 weeks. That's huge. It's like a lot better than anyone else right now. So, thank you so much, Jesse. Thank you so much, Freedom Breeder crew. You guys are amazing. Can't wait to tap in with you guys this year. I got big things planned for Freedom Breeder as far as for the show as well. So, love you guys, man. Respect. Shout out to Miguel Garcia, always evolving pythons, the big OG, triple OG right now, man. I'm telling you, this guy right here is doing so many big things. I love it. This guy right here has continued to just groundbreak anything that he touches. Ooh, what the heck? How did that happen? Damn, my phone went off. Anyways, Miguel Garcia, guys, please go give him a check. Check him out. Always evolving pythons. He had an amazing year last year, and I'm pretty sure this year is going to be even better. That's just kind of what we have planned as far as, what kind of people we are. We're always going to outdo the year before, for sure. And Miguel is going to be somebody you're going to want to follow. So give him a follow. Miguel, thank you so much for your support. It means everything, bro. And Tina, Jesse, the entire AEP crew, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And then shout out to my boy, Alan. If you out there are really into arboreals, and if you are inspired to maybe own or, fucking just be around amazing, be around basins, man. Basins, in my opinion, and when it comes to snakes, cream of the crop, man. This is the Ferrari of snakes. And my boy Alan right here works with them, breeds them, produces them, all that shit. I mean, he is the man. I have a really good feeling about his year this year. But, I think you guys, anyone out there who has interest in the arboreal snakes, especially basins, needs to go check out my man, Alan. And then if you're really that dedicated to wanting to be a part of what he has going on, then I highly recommend you check out his Patreon page, become a part of the Amazing Basin Patreon family, and, hopefully get on that list to own one of his basins. Because, even if you got the money, that's just not easy to get. Basins are not, I'm telling you, it's whoever's working with basins and can say they produce it, which is less than a handful in the United States. Telling you right now, that's my boy. He's doing it right there. So, Alan, good shit. I appreciate your support. Oh yeah, and then as far as for the ball pythons, he has amazing ball python stuff going on as well. So, go check him out on Instagram. He's active on his stories. He likes to show people what he has going on, and he's showing more as far as his ball python project. So, go check out my boy Alan. That's Big Bro right there all day, every day. And then Rami, Reptile Super Show. Appreciate the support, big dog. I hope you're decompressing well after an amazing Pomona after 2 years. Killed it, man. What an amazing time. The buzz is still going. I'm talking about that show. Good shit, Rami. Appreciate you, bro. Cannot wait for the next one. So if you guys out there have not been to a Reptile Super Show, make that a priority, especially if you live in the West Coast, because this is the best show on the West Coast, hands down. So shout out to Rami. Cannot wait for the next one, man. I believe the next one is Anaheim in June, if I'm not mistaken. I should double check that. But guys, make sure you guys make it to a Reptile Super Show. And even if you're in the West Coast or East Coast, man, fucking travel out there. I mean, we all know NARBCs, people will travel far and beyond to go to NARBC. And if we can kind of get that love for a Reptile Super Show, that'd be great. But that being said, Arlington in less than 2 weeks, or about 2 weeks. Oh yeah, shit, less than 2 weeks. It's going to go down. I cannot wait. That whole week is jam-packed with amazing stuff that's going to be coming out of this fucking channel. I hope you guys are ready. But Texas, let's go. Arlington, NARBC. I have a good feeling about this show. This is going to be an amazing time. Texas never, ever lets me down. And I cannot wait to tap in, guys. But more importantly, thank you so much, Brian Potter. Thank you so much, Bob Ashley, for your support. And yeah, you could catch me at every single NARBC for the most part this year. Maybe not St. Louis, but I should be at Schaumburg. Definitely at all the Tinleys, definitely at all the Arlington. So yeah, thank you so much, NARBC, for the love and support. You guys mean everything. That's shit. That's sick. I can't bet 2 best shows that you could possibly go to in the United States right there. Boom. Sponsoring the trap. Shout out to US Art, guys. Big things hitting the fan right now. Let's go ahead and come together and shut down this little weenie fucking law that's trying to get passed. I mean, I don't think it's going to get passed. These guys are full of shit, but we still need to come together. We still need to come and help US Art fight these people off, and we can get back to our day-to-day. Even though our day-to-day is always supporting US Art, always stop, helping them with the fight. It's not going to stop. So guys, if you are new into this game, if you are old into this game, I mean, fuck it. I mean, it just comes to a point where you need to just go support US Art. Go down the link below, read up on it. And like I said, if you for some reason don't believe in US Art, and if I'm somebody, I bring you on, you better speak up and tell me why. I'd love to hear about it. But guys, thank you so much as far as anyone who supports US Art. Thank you, US Art. Thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you, everyone who fucking, does what they do to get these people off our backs, which is never ending. But yeah, if you guys want anything as far as, information, or, I don't know if you guys want to hit me up, if you want to see what I'm breeding, if you want to see what it is that I sell, if I do sell anything, then go over to my Instagram, mjexoticscartal with an A, not an E. I'm really active on my Instagram, and I post a lot of my work there. So check me out, man. And then if you want to follow the podcasts, as far as what I put out with the podcast, definitely go follow Trap Talk with MJ podcast Instagram. Shout out to all my Twitch viewers. I appreciate all my Twitch viewers going up. For whatever reason, if you guys decide you want to support this channel more than a subscription, more than a like, more than a super chat, which every super chat that is put into this channel gets sent over to US Art. It's been like that. It's always going to be like that. But also, any donation you send me will get sent over to US Art. So if you like to send me a donation, go ahead and send it to Exotics Cartel with an A, not an E. And then, as far as support goes, man, shout out to all my Patreon members, man. God damn, I love my Patreon members. If you out there want to become a part of a sick ass community where you actually learn and gain information about working with other species, and this is 24/7. We have a Discord. We get together every Sunday. So after this episode, I'm going to get together with all my trappers on a Zoom session, which once you become a part of the Patreon, you get access to all that and whatnot, and you can tap in with us. We're face to face. We don't have just texting relationships, man. We like to talk to each other face to face because we're all about our shit, man. So we're about 80 deep. Come join the family. Come see what we're all about, man. None of that weird Bob Smith shit, and have some fun with us. I'm telling you right now. But shout out to my Patreon members. I can't wait to tap in with you guys after this episode. And what is good with my early birds? What is good with the early birds? Is Canada in the building? I hope I have some Canadians in the building. I mean, this guy, even if there isn't, which I know there's a Canadian in the building, this guy's one of my favorite Canadians. But anyways, let's say what up to Wise Guys Reptiles. What is good, Wise Guys Reptiles? Thanks for tapping in. Pacific Rim Serpents. What's up, homegirl? This is a Trap Talk Patreon family member all day, every day. Lizard Morphs. What is good, bro? Thanks for tapping in. Trap Talk Patreon Zoodream member right here all day, every day is my boy Jay. What's up, Jay? Thanks for tapping in. Robert J. Big T Exotics. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. Elite Exotics. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. Cold-Blooded Monsters. What is good? Thanks for tapping in. Let's see who else is here. Aurora. What's up, Aurora? Thanks for tapping in. Cannot wait to get your goodies out to you this coming week. Oh, what? The homie right here, Triple G in the building. Go Getty Genetics. Thanks for tapping in, big dog. How the snakes doing? This guy actually just picked up some fire that I produced in 2020. Here's another good perk about a Patreon, becoming a Patreon family member. I gave this guy, I didn't give him, he bought him, but I sold this guy 3 females that were holdbacks from 2020. Boom. That's how I take care of my people. I already know they're doing good with you, bro. Keep doing your thing. What is good, Marlon? Thanks for tapping in. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Let's see who else is here. Who else is in the building? What's up, Jake? Got the homie Jake in the building. Ooh, got my wife in the building. What's up, wife? Thanks for tapping in, wife. I appreciate you. Dylan, what is good, D? Follow my boy D right here. Texas Kid Reptiles. What's up, Texas Kid in the building? Let's see. Who else is here? Is that it? Ooh, oh, what's up, Father Blue? Father Blue, what is good? Michael Wood, what is good? You still never answered me. Are you a DJ, Michael Wood? Because I knew a Michael Wood that was a DJ, and I have some of his songs. He's fucking pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. So, thanks for tapping in. Roger, what is good, Roger? Thanks for tapping in. Let's do one more, and we're gonna end it with Shane Henderson, the homie Shane Henderson. Peace. God bless, Shane Henderson. All right, guys. Long overdue episode for sure. You want to know why? Because even before I even had monitors, I would bring monitor guests on Unfiltered Reptiles podcast. Shout out to Stephen Cush, my boy Stephen Cush. Definitely highly recommended from Stephen Cush. Anyone Stephen recommends, I'm going to give my attention to. So back when Stephen recommended that we bring Brandon onto Unfiltered, I checked out what he had, and this guy is working with some amazing monitors, dwarf monitors, tree monitors. It's just not, typically I bring on big monitor breeders, but this guy right here is working with a selective group of monitors, which I cannot wait to talk about. Some of the stuff that he has, I have. So this is going to be interesting, man. I have so many questions for my man, but let's tap him in right now. He is right here from Canada, Brandon Van Asten, Canadian Coldblood. What is good, my man?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? I'm super stoked to be here.
I'm so stoked you're here too. Cheers to you. I love your hair. Looks like you just got off. Looks like you just got off a tour on some rock band or some shit like that. I love it.
That's my side gig for sure.
So Brandon, how you living, man? How you been? It's been about over a year or so since we had a sit down like this. So how's everything going with you, man?
Hey, man, things are good. Things are good. The last couple months have been tough up here. We've been living through the serious cold snap the last 3 weeks and had mountains of snow dumped on us. So it's been hard, but we're hanging in there. It's
Ooh.
It's been a good learning curve year for me again. So
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Brandon. What are you doing currently right now to heat up your room?
I mean, it's obviously an indoor shop, clearly.
Right.
Yeah. With the shop setup that I have a furnace in there. I have an air conditioner in the basement, but I mean, the lighting, even right now,
right,
this time of year, heats the whole building, right? Because of all the heat lights and stuff. So I actually have an air conditioner that will still kick on in minus 30 degrees Celsius weather, 30 degrees below zero. But yeah, so that's all right. But yeah, the furnace will kick on and stuff. But that's what I do here.
Okay.
No way around it.
So for the people who aren't too familiar with exactly what species of monitors and what all that you work with, kind of let people know what your involvement is with the reptiles and for as far as what you work with and whatnot.
Okay, so varanid wise, I mean, most of the Odatria I've had, but I mean the ones that I still keep and breed are the Pilbara rock monitors, Kimberley rock monitors,
right,
and Acantharis. And then about 8 years ago or so, I ventured into tree monitors, and so I'm working with blues, greens, yellows, blacks, and looking for Cordensis still, folks. If there's anybody out there that would like to ship me a few. I'm still looking for credences. We don't get many that come into Canada, right? So, and then with imports being the way they've been over the last few years, whether that's due to COVID or whatever else, it's a ghost town on tree monitors coming into Canada. So that monitor wise, that's what I have, and then I have some other side projects where I'm working with a lot of knobtail geckos, Gila monsters, beaded lizards, and started up working with a bunch of New Caledonian geckos as well the last few.
Nice. Ooh, looks like we're having like a little glitch. You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I?
Do me a favor. Just hopefully this fixes. Why don't you exit out and come right back in? If you could just do that for me real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. Sometimes that fixes it. But
okay.
So, okay, guys, to kind of tell you the excitement built up behind this episode, when I brought Brandon on to Unfiltered Reptiles podcast, very green. My knowledge was very green with the monitors. I think I had just gotten rid of Louis, the Nile monitor, and I was kind of scarred PTSD wise. I mean, I didn't just get rid of him. He went to a good home, but I didn't own a green tree monitor. Definitely didn't own the Bell Phase Lace monitors. Didn't have beaded. So I'm excited to share all this stuff with him. But anyways, let's see if his connection's better. What's up? You there, Brandon?
I'm here.
All right. Cool.
Better?
Anyway, yes, better. Okay. So I'm so happy. Okay, I don't know how long you've been following me for, but I know for a fact the last time I had you on the show, I didn't have any beadeds, and I have beadeds now. I have a group of 4, and I'm obsessed with them, dude. Those things are amazing. I can't even tell you just the way they are, like as far as just the appreciation of what they can do. Like they're just amazing to look at. The way they climb, the way they like enjoy fresh water, like they really appreciate fresh water. Like I give them fresh water every single day, and I see them chug the living shit out of it. So I know how important that is. You know, it's funny you said that on the episode. How like you mentioned doing daily water changes is so important because how frequent there are in that water and how frequent they drink out of that water. Do you recall saying that? Oh God, you gotta love the internet. She say that again. You froze. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, I said they drink so much,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, they definitely need access to it. Yeah. If we keep glitching out here, I'm gonna grab another computer and hardline it into the signal. Okay.
All right, no big deal. Yeah, we have plenty of time to do that. It's funny because it sucks. This is the kind of shit that sometimes happens because during our sound check, this shit was perfect, and then of course we went live and it happens. But we're fine, no big deal. But yeah, I listen. I always had like there's some things you learn coming into something, and you hear like the standard of what the standard is, right? And some of the industry standards with the snakes is doing water changes once a week, once every 7 days to give them water. And when I started doing that and I started building a collection of over 50 snakes, I was legit doing water changes once a week. And I kept seeing how disgusting their water was. And I was like, dude, this is fucked up. And then I started paying more attention when I started getting chondros, because chondros, I could see right through their tub. I could see everything that they're doing versus putting them in a dark tub and putting them in a rack. So what I was seeing was how much these chondros would always go immediately to the water when I would change it out. Like it's kind of like they knew like, oh my God, there's something fresh in here, and they wanted to drink it. I paid attention to that. So right away I was like, I don't think this once every 7 day water change is fucking efficient health-wise for anything. Like that's fucked up. I mean, now that this is a full-time gig and I'm home, if I could change waters every day, God bet I'm going to change the water. Like if I can, I'm changing the water just because think about it. Like, have you ever, I mentioned this before, Brandon, but have you ever had a night of waking up so goddamn thirsty or whatever, and you just grabbed a water glass that maybe had been there for a day or two. Either way, the water was sitting out and you instantly feel like that water was disgusting. Like I don't know. Just imagine being anything drinking water with shit in it. I don't know. I just think that's overlooked. I feel like the fresh water thing is overlooked by a lot. And I remember you saying that on the episode, and it really stood out to me.
Well, you're right, man. You ever grab a glass of water that's been sitting there for 24 hours? It does not taste the same. God knows what fell in that over the course of that time, right?
100%. So, okay. Now also, we'll talk about the beadeds, but I also have green tree monitors, man. I have sitting next to Persinus is right here. And I don't know if you know this, but I got my first clutch of eggs about I want to say a month ago. Nice. So it was her first cycle, and she laid 2, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, let's kind of, I mean, I feel like working with these are just such a gift. It's such an honor. It's such a amazing experience. And, I feel like the stars aligned on this happening. But how did you get into working with monitors, especially the green tree monitor, or just the tree monitors in general? Like what was it in your life where you crossed paths and were able to make this a part of your life here?
Well, I mean, I've been breeding monitors for probably 20 years now, and I can remember,
respect.
I can remember, back in the day when blue trees were first discovered and stuff, and they were really interesting to me, but kind of something that I'd never see, at least back when I used to look at read articles on them back in the day when Duncan McRae found them. And then years ago, and I forget how many years ago, there used to be a guy named Bob Mendyke, and we'd talk back and forth, and he had Kimberly rock monitors, and he had some blue trees that he was breeding, and he would get them to lay eggs, and he would have difficulty hatching the eggs, and lots of people would have difficulty hatching like Kimberly rock monitor eggs and stuff back at that time too. And I remember thinking, I've kind of got it sort of dialed in where I am, at least with the Kimberly rocks. And I think, I thought to myself, tree monitors are probably no different. I mean, in terms of egg incubation, and just general monitor behaviors and stuff. And I thought if I can get access to some of these things, then I could probably be successful with them. And as fate would have it, I was able to source a couple in Canada, and one of them being an animal that a pet store had for a couple years. And then when I got them into my care, and kind of just did what I do with all monitors, just in a slightly larger enclosure size, and they started breeding, and kind of never looked back from there. Once I realized that they were doable, and in my opinion, easily doable relative to the other monitors, then I was like, you can make a really good go of this. So, and then it snowballed. Once I was successful with blues, then I was like, I got to try all of them. If I have one tree, I gotta get them all, right? So.
Oh my God. I mean, because Brandon, you can only imagine what I'm going through. I mean, like I said, I'm not thinking this is a fucking walk in the park. I'm just saying what I'm seeing right now with the greens, I can't imagine with the blue. I can't imagine with the yellow. I can't imagine trust me. I know this is crazy. It's addicting, bro.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So, okay, listen. So let's kind of talk about your, because I mean, obviously 20 years ago, I mean, here's the thing, Brandon, I give my credit so much of what success. I mean, I will say having eggs come out of a female is success. I even though those eggs are bad, those eggs are long gone in the trash now. They weren't good to begin with, but either way, I'm like, hell yeah, she laid eggs. That's fucking awesome. I'm happy. That's a good sign, right? But I had some really close friends of mine who've had tons of experience with this shit, right there, walking me through this shit, basically holding my hand. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know what it was like 20 years ago, but there was no social media like this. So I'm just curious, like, what were some of the learning curves? What were some of the things that kind of helped you in the beginning when trying to figure these things out? Because even with all the help in the world, you still got to figure these out. You got to find out what works for you in your room. Like, so many things depend on where you're at. So kind of tell me back then, 20 years ago, or, when you were getting dialed in with these, what things were kind of helping you out back then as far as learning curves and whatnot?
Oh yeah. Well, that's tough to say. I mean, Ackies were obviously the first monitor lizard that I like, the Australian dwarf monitor lizards that I worked with, and I had experience with like common stuff like bearded dragons and veiled chameleons and a bunch of geckos and things like that. And there was, like you said, there was very little literature out there. And I had the luxury of being able to talk to Joe Lewis, who was the original owner of Rare Earth, who kind of established that name, and he was very knowledgeable. And then, the internet was just kind of burgeoning with some of the monitor groups, and there was a lot. I remember there was like Varanus.net, I think it was called, and that was a good hub for information. So, and that was one that Frank Reedus used to frequent. So, I was able to pick up bits and pieces of information from guys that had done it, and then kind of apply, what I sort of knew about reptile husbandry, and then just watching them too, right? I think I'm a pretty common sense person, and I don't really get swayed by a lot of popular beliefs, I guess you would say, right? Like if it doesn't make sense to me, then I probably won't do it, right? And that has served me well, so and keeping it simple, keeping things simple as well. Eliminate variables and work on the ones that, piece by piece, and eventually you come up with a recipe that seems to really work well. But I'm like, this year I've learned so much again, just with dietary stuff. So I'm trying some things out this year to see how that works. But yeah, just keep an open mind and try and put the pieces of the puzzle together, and trying to ignore. I hate to say this, but try and ignore a lot of the stuff that's presented in groups, right? Like monitor groups online, and there's
Oh,
good
because there's so much,
uh,
the thing behind that, Brandon, is there's a big wave of people that want to back up a theory that is not experienced on their end. They're just backing something up that hasn't even happened to them, and the thing is, like, there's so many, and even with the ball python game, like there's so many like perceptions on something, which really lies on people not knowing for facts. Like they're just basing off everything off either one post, one thread, or whatever the fuck. And just because it sounds good to them, they're like, well, that's right. I'm sorry, but like, and they're quick to jump on it. It gets very political, and that's why I don't like it. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like it just, it's in certain people in, certain administrators in groups tend to do favoritisms too, that I'm standing to see. Like I feel like even they have ways of favoritism certain people's opinions over others, which I can't stand. So at the end of the day, nothing's better than experience on your own. Like no better teacher than experience, right? So I agree with the whole, like, fuck what you guys are saying. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. This is what I see here, and I don't care what anything else has to be said. So I kind of let my eyes do the talking for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think there's nothing worse than hearing somebody talk about something that they're so certain about. And that's the key, is like when somebody's certain about something that they know it for a fact, then they're probably wrong. In my experience, that's what I've seen. Right. And I'll just tell you what I see and what makes sense to me. But I always keep an open mind. I think that's key as well. But I see a lot of people absolutely 100% certain about what's going on with their lizards. And I look from the outside and say, nope. I can, but I just don't want to get involved, right? It's not worth the aggravation.
Hey,
There's too many people that know everything.
Hey, Brandon. So let's get back to the diet talk real quick, because I feel like that's so important, huge with any kind of monitor, is the dietary here. So let's talk about what the green tree excuse me, I keep seeing green tree, but with the tree monitor specifically, what kind of diet do you have? What's their program as far as feeding them goes?
Well, I mean, okay, I'll talk about what I used to do and how I've seen it
Please.
like manifest. So I used to I feed primarily bugs. So like I'll feed them every second day, right? So maybe once a week, maybe a little bit more. I'd feed them some rodent material or some eggs and go from there. And what I kind of noticed was that animals that I would raise up that I would have for 3 years, let's say, in my care, that I would feed them on that regimen, uh, they were extremely slow to start breeding.
Right.
Am I cutting out on you?
No, that's fine. No, you're good.
So animals that are imported that came to me lean in the wild, eating primarily insects and stuff, and then they'd come to me, I'd quarantine them, they'd breed like crazy, and they'd breed like clockwork, and I'd have high fertility in the clutches. All right, all the clutches would be fertile. I'd hatch the babies, no problem. And as long as they were actively reproducing every 3 months, getting a clutch of eggs, and that diet seemed to work for them. But I noticed with animals that I raised up myself that I gave them like rodent protein and mice at the same feeding regimen as wild caught ones that were breeding, they didn't take off breeding as well. And then what I noticed was when I did get clutches of eggs from them, I had infertility in not a lot of the eggs, but let's say 25% of the eggs, which I don't know for sure. I'm trying to figure it out, but I think that everybody knows that mouse protein and animal like quail or whatever, you feed it in moderation. And I thought, because I've been successful, I thought I was feeding it in moderation that worked for me. But I'm starting to think even with, once a week using like quail and egg and mice or whatever, that might even be too much. So I'm playing with it. I'm not saying that I solved anything, but I'm playing with it.
So you're even talking about doing less than like maybe once every 2 weeks, giving them rodents or something.
I'm cutting out rodents totally, personally. Yeah.
Whoa. Why? And you think because they're not really eating rodents in the wild? Is that why, or why?
Oh, I mean, if you look, I had I've done research in the past on some stuff, and then I had a nice young lady show me a bit. She was on a forum, and she had a pair of Prasinus that were like 13 years old, and right away I was very curious about that because 13-year-old pair that is actively breeding and laying eggs. So I started a little side conversation with her, asking her, what is your feeding regimen? And she was telling me, and I was just trying to piece things together from what I do and see, and maybe whether she was doing something right, whether she knew what she was doing or not. I was trying to see, right? And she told me that she feeds pretty much only crickets and the odd roach, and never feeds rodents. Maybe once a month or something, like a little bit of egg or something. And she has this 13-year-old pair of green trees that's breeding like religiously, and they're 13 years old. And I was like, okay. And I had already had some notions in my head about what's going on, right? But that was the oldest pair of green trees I've ever heard of breeding. And I have a blue tree female that's about 10 years old, and she actively, like, she's a great breeder. She lays eggs every 3 months. And I think that with my previous feeding schedule with the rodents, she was just using so much of that energy, putting it into eggs and the fat into eggs, that she never got burdened down with excess fat. But I think, as long as they're really reproducing, it's not a big deal. But if you're raising things up, that could be a problem. So she, anyways, back to your question, she forwarded me a bit of literature that she had read, and I read through it, and they were like, I think they had a sample size of like 42 tree monitors or green tree monitors, and out of all 42 lizards, they found one that had one rodent in it, and the rest were 100% insects, right? So
Wow.
you can't really argue with that. And I mean,
Crazy.
and I'll try it. I'll see what happens, right? I mean, and it could explain some questions I've had in the past about a lot of different things. So who knows? I mean, they're not rodent eating in the wild. That's a guarantee. I know that, right? It's convenient for us to use mice and rats and stuff, but they may raid the odd nest with eggs and things like that, but they're primarily insect eaters for sure.
I'm very curious because here at the San Diego Zoo, there's a emerald, or I guess, a green. Okay, hold on. The emerald tree monitor and the green tree monitor, are those different? Emerald green, or are they the same?
They're the same, just
okay,
different common names.
Anyways, there's a pair of a gigantic pair. There's a gigantic pair of green tree monitors at the San Diego Zoo. I'm talking fucking big, bro. Like, I've never seen anything this big my entire life. Based off what Steven had to tell me, I'm pretty sure they're on just a rodent diet, but I'm just real curious on how old they are because they're so humongous. Like, and I'm just curious, like, with age and even in the wild, how big are green tree monitors or emerald tree monitors in the wild? Or do they tend to get a lot bigger than captivity?
I don't know. I couldn't really tell you. I mean, if you look at the wild caught animals that have come in the past as a sample size, which would be reasonable, I mean, that's probably what the average is in the wild. I think what we see in captivity is probably average for what you see in the wild.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I'm just, also too, because, I don't know. I feel it's important because monitors should live how long technically? I mean, do you know a lifespan of a tree monitor on how long a tree monitor should live?
I have no idea. I don't think. I mean, I don't think I can answer that. I mean, I have one that's 10 years old and still breeding really well, and everything I have, is younger than everything else. Is a bit younger than that. This woman had a 13-year-old pair that was actively breeding. I mean, I can't see why they couldn't live 20, 25 years, right? But I don't believe going to get that with what we typically feed them for the most part here, right? Like rodents and stuff. I don't think that will be the case.
So you still have tree monitors that you started with?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Like some of my best breeding animals are my original wild caught ones.
So it's safe to say that you haven't had any tree monitors roll on you or pass on you due to like obesity or anything like that. Like everything that's happening as far as the dietary stuff goes is you're doing it. It's oh my God, it's preventative. You're just doing it just, because you could get ahead of it. Or, I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, you feel like, as far as if you were to keep feeding rodents, this is going to just keep damaging the breeding process for them, or they're not going to produce as good as they can for you.
Well, yeah. So, like, I'm not sure if I made that super clear, but the wild caught animals that I had, they obviously were in the wild, and they they grew up on insects and whatever they were eating in the wild,
Right.
and they were a nice lean lizard, right? And then when I had them, let's say when I acquired them, you give them the quarantine period and you feed them, and they're still a lean lizard. And then after the quarantine period, you throw them together and they start breeding. And then I did, your normal bug, bug and egg and rodent routine or whatever it is that you do. And I
Right.
think they were just breeding so consistently that they were able to use up all that excess energy laying eggs constantly. And they never got to the point where they were too fat to breed. So that's what I saw. But what I did notice is when I hold back animals for myself and I raise them up. It's about 3 years or so before you're going to see them breeding, let's say. So that's 3 years of potential fat accumulation from rodents, let's say, or egg, or I don't think egg and quail is as bad as a mouse, but that's 3 years of accumulated fat that they haven't had the opportunity to really burn off, let's say. And I just noticed they don't breed as well. They don't start breeding very easily, and then you get a bit more infertility in the clutches. So, uh, that these are just I'm a science teacher, so I'm
No,
like
this is
a
awesome.
master of observation. So I'm gonna try. I'm trying this year with almost. I'm gonna just say no rodents, and I think that's gonna be
Wow.
across the board on everything.
I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, I'm just, I'm looking forward to this just because, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, as far as why are we so quick just to put rodents into things? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like something like how I was talking about earlier. Like it's like an industry standard. We don't really know better, but to be told to feed this a rodent like every other week, or especially for especially in the beginning when I was told monitor, that's all they eat is rodents. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you were the first person that came on first person I ever listened to that said, well, no, rodents is the least thing you should feed it. Like, but you said you fed it, but it was like once a week or like very sporadically. You know what I mean? So,
Like we've always known that they're like a super fatty food, right? And I was always just under the impression that it's like, okay, let's say once a week, here's your weekly treat, Kimberly Rock monitors and tree monitors, and I'll give you, 3 fuzzy mice or something. And and that to me at the time seemed totally reasonable, right? That's fine, and it won't make them too fat, and it'll give them that little extra energy boost that they need to lay eggs and you know build up reserves again. And I don't know, I'm just starting to think otherwise. I don't think they need it. I mean, like the Odatria seem to, like, once they're breeding and rocking and rolling, you could almost feed them whatever. I'm not really noticing much with the Odatria on that end, but I am noticing it, I think, with the tree monitors. If my suspicions are correct, I do kind of notice it.
now,
So
Rook, I should have gave you the heads up, Bert, but like we're, for the most part, especially myself, are not on the level of monitor knowledge like Stephen Cush. So some of these scientific terms, we don't know what the hell you're talking about, just so you know. So if you could tell us like the actual you're saying the scientific name, and I appreciate that, but some of us slow ones out there like myself are kind of like, if they're going past our heads right now. So
no, when I say Odatria, I'm just talking about all the dwarf Australian monitors.
perfect.
So,
See there, that's what I need to know.
yeah, all of that stuff. Okay.
This is the kind of shit this is the kind of stuff that Stephen Kush makes fun of me about, because like dude, you can only learn so much for so long. And it's
Right.
like some shit just goes past
Yeah,
random.
yeah.
And I'm just like, what fucking species is he talking about now? Like, and I'm just like, I have a Rolodex in my head, and I do smoke heavily. So sometimes it's just like, the gap, it just gaps out. But thank you. I appreciate you you
No worries.
breaking that down.
Yeah, you know what? I always, I mean, I am a teacher by day, but like I am definitely not an academic. So I hear people who are really well studied on, on natural, biogeography and where things live. And I'm like, oh, that's great. They come from that island too. That's awesome. Right. I'm more of a, I'm a herpetoculturalist, let's say, and I look at it from that lens. But yeah, so I'm as much as you say you don't understand, that's fine, because I'm not an academic guy either when it comes to that sort of thing, right? There are some people that are really, really, really well read, and they know everything about all the Latin names on everything and every little nook and cranny of an island where these things come from, and it's kind of funny.
So let me ask you this, Brandon. As far as the amount of times monitor lays for you, we could talk to about the tree monitors. How many times are you getting tree monitor clutches from the same female a year? Are you getting multiple clutches?
Oh yeah, like if the pair is like nice and compatible and they're like really rocking, I expect a clutch every 3 months, like clockwork.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like clockwork. Okay.
Exactly. And like all fertile, high fertility, like they're all the eggs are fertile. On average about 5 eggs a clutch.
Now let me
So
ask you this: is it, for the most part, if you have a female laying a first time clutch for you, how many first time clutches actually become fertile eggs for you from your experience?
from a wild caught female, all of them.
Right. I'm assuming, right.
So
What about your own production? Have you produced
yeah,
something?
yeah, they've been pretty good. They just don't breed as often, and they they take a while to get going. Um, and So yeah, I don't notice any difference in fertility between, first clutches and then the rest that a
Right.
female will lay. I know that plays out in some gecko species where it's like knobtails seem to want to lay, a lot of them want to lay a clutch of dud eggs and then that, then they lay the rest. But it doesn't seem to be that way for me with monitors. I
Okay.
think if you're getting infertile eggs, there's another reason, right? And they, maybe they were fertile at one point, and maybe she retained them too long, and whatever. When eggs are retained, I don't know what happens to them and why they tend not to do well though. Like they tend not to incubate and survive. They go bad. And I believe that they were probably fertile at one point because the rest of the clutches and the eggs are good in shape and stuff. But I don't know what the reason might be there, but I know if they're retained, then you do lose a lot of the eggs.
Now, and I can tell you from based off talking to my buddy Steven and Andrew and a couple monitor breeders, a female could get stressed out and go egg bound. Like there could, if the enclosure isn't proper and like the nest box, like if what she has isn't adequate for her to do her thing, she won't lay them and she'll hold them, and things could go really south. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're smart. So there's a lot of things that can bug them, and a lot of things that people don't recognize. And because they're so smart, like I know a lot of times when people have their tree monitor and they're like, oh, is she laying, is she burrowing, and they're like in and out of the nest box all the time, right? They're opening the lid, they're closing the lid, and they're curious, and I don't blame them because I know what that feeling is like. But that female tree monitor is not a dummy, right? She knows. She's like, well, this gigantic creature knows where I'm about to lay my eggs. I don't want to do it.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the common things I think that people do wrong is they're expecting, and they're in there all the time. And the female is smart, and she will be reluctant to lay there if you're going in there all the time. Two, I mean, people leave the male in the enclosure, which
Yeah.
too, I'm sure. So, um, That's a big one. And then obviously nest box substrate's too cold and not, the consistency of what's in the nest box doesn't seem to matter. I've had them, to some extent. I've had them lay in straight sand. I mix sand soil. I've had them lay in straight soil. So that doesn't seem to be too big an issue. It's more temperature. And then those other, behavioral kind of environmental factors that like visual stuff that they can see that more kind of will prevent them from laying eggs, in my experience.
Can I share my mistakes on what I did with
Yeah,
my first go around? And like I said, I'm happy she laid them because for what
Yeah.
I experienced and based off what my buddy Andrew was telling me, she did not like her nest box. Her situation wasn't the best.
Mhm.
Mainly because her hole was too big. Like the hole I cut on the lid was a lot bigger than it should. So basically was exposing what was going on. And what was crazy was she was like, I wasn't opening up, but that hole was big enough to kind of see what she was doing. And there was holes, tunnels all through that. Right.
Yeah.
But when my buddy Andrew told me, hey, look, that hole, you're exposing way too much with that hole. I went ahead and got a water dish and covered that hole. Like I slid it over the hole and everything was going great. Like I said, I could tell she was going in and out. I would see mornings where she'd be covered in dirt, just like she'd be covered in dirt. But what was happening towards the end of her wanting to lay is she was dumping that water dish into her substrate, into the and I wasn't really paying attention because I would come in and like, wow, she needs water, but I'm thinking they must be thirsty, but she was dumping that into the actual nest box. So by the time she laid, guess where she laid? You want to guess where she laid the eggs?
Where she laid them?
Yeah, guess where she laid them?
Wasn't in the nest box, was it?
Nope.
Was it in the water bowl?
Nope.
No. Just
High.
on the. Really?
Yeah, she laid them in the. So I have perches going all the way. It's about 5.5 feet tall.
Sure.
And I have perches going the way across, and then I have corkwood. Like tunnel corkwood going across. She laid in one of those corkwoods, like right there. I saw the eggs, like because one of the corkwoods is facing out. She laid them at the very edge. I could just see 2 eggs poking out, and she's at the very end right there, just facing them, like just looking at them. Yeah. So that's when I was like, what the fuck? She laid them up there. Like I'm looking down every day, just like, because dude, Brandon, I pay very close attention to these. Like, they're not like snakes. I pay very close attention to these monitors. Like I say, change their waters every day and whatnot. But anyways, I was constantly looking to see if there was anything going downstairs. But dude, she laid them up top, which is unusual. Is that right?
Yeah, to just like in a cork hollow, that's a desperation get out of me. I can't do anything else, like that's what that seems like to me.
Right. That could have been real bad.
Yeah. She definitely wasn't happy with the nest box situation. And that was just like, evacuate the eggs now. This is the, I can't hold them any longer. Yeah.
I'm glad she got them out then. Cause honestly, my buddy Andrew told me right away. And like I said, I didn't know her nest box was in that situation because I wouldn't want to mess with it. I was kind of like letting her, do her thing. I didn't want to go in there too soon. I didn't want to do any of that. So I was kind of not messing with it. And, Andrew said right away, dude, she did not like her nest box. Like, you need to check it. Like, first off, go check to see if she laid any more in there because there was only 2 that she laid, and that's when I checked it out and that shit was muddy. Like, I'm talking like saturated with water, like completely wet, like completely wet. So I was like, holy shit. So, learn that lesson there. I'm glad she got them out. She's doing great now. And they're already breeding again. It's crazy. Like, she bounced back really quick. But definitely, redid their nest boxing. I cut the holes like snub, like the holes like, a lot more snub. And she's already in there going in and out. You know what I mean? But way different.
Inch and a half hole, man. That's like literally what you need.
Yeah, it's literally like, yep, it's just that. It's barely big enough for her to go in and out. And man, lesson learned for sure. And I feel like a lot of people are, like I said, you could easily buy 2. You could easily get a pair of monitors, get them to breed, but it's like the preparation of once something goes forward from that. Like there's so many things you need to have dialed in once you have a monitor get gravid. And if not, things could go really bad. And I feel like people kind of overlook that,
Yeah, I think that's common, right? Like the nesting is it's one of the most important thing, and people actually treat it like an afterthought,
Right.
in a lot of respects. So, um, another thing that I find funny too that people do with nest boxes is they'll use like a tote, and I use totes. I'm not against that, but they'll use
Right.
something that's very thin walled or clear sided, right? They'll put dirt in there and they'll put the lid on it, and it's like a clear tote, right? So the monitor goes in there, and it's like they can
Oh,
see
you can see me.
everybody, right? So they don't like that either. If it wasn't, insanely obvious not to do that, there's a little tip. If you have a nest box that's like a clear Rubbermaid tote or something, they don't like that either.
Because the whole point is to hide. It's
Yeah.
not for any type of exposure whatsoever. Like, and shout out to Mike's Monitors. We had Mike's Monitor on the show, and also too, people don't understand that some people like to heat their nest boxes and they put like a heat pad underneath, when really a natural instinct for monitor to dig down is to get cooler, not to get warmer. You know what I mean? Because as you dig down in the dirt, it gets colder. It doesn't get warmer.
Mhm.
So that could kind of mess up with the monitor's flow of wanting to dig, I guess, or something like that. So he recommend that you put a heat pad on the side, like on one side of the nest box versus
Yeah.
underneath. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, whatever it takes to achieve that kind of 80, warm, let's say 83 to 85 or even 81 to 85, right? Whatever it takes to get that, because like you said at the onset of the show, everybody's situation is different, right?
Right.
So for somebody like me, I have, enclosures that I custom built myself, and I stack enclosures one on top of the other. So what I do is I have, like I alternate the spotlight. So my bottom cage, the spotlight will be on the left-hand side. The cage above that, the spotlight will be on the right-hand side, and the nest box will be on the left-hand side. So the spotlight from the cage below, warms the nest box above it,
That makes sense.
right? And then I just alternate back and forth. The bottom enclosure is never a breeding enclosure. It's just a rearing enclosure, or, separate male enclosure, whatever.
Separate, right.
And then the rest are all breeding ones. That way, I don't have to artificially heat the nest box with like a heat pad. It's just the radiant heat from the spotlight from the enclosure below heats that one. So I'm try and be efficient that way, and it works. That seems to work, so that's good. But yeah, one of the other things too that was in that article that woman sent me was that the researchers, doing the research and sampling and stuff. One of the things that they noted was that they saw baby Prasinus hatching out of a termite mound, and then the baby green trees would hang around outside of the termite mound. Now, I didn't, I know that's common for a lot of species to use termite mounds. I didn't think it would be super applicable to tree monitors. So whether that was a fluke, a one-off, or whether that's a regular thing that tree monitors do, I don't know, but maybe it is. But termite mounds their temperature is really regulated well, right? So
Well,
by the
what I mean, they're kind of like, what's the temperature in the termite mound? I always thought they were kind of cooler.
no, I think termites want to keep it in the, don't quote me on this.
Right.
If there's bug guys out there, you're going to shoot me, but I would want to say they're like 84, 85 in the middle. That's kind of the ideal operating temp for them. And they'll do, their own ventilation tunnels and seal things up to maintain that perfect temperature. So that's why I think monitors love to kind of use them. But anyways, that was another interesting observation. They said there was, green trees that were hatching out of a termite mound, and that the babies were hanging around the termite mound to eat termites for several days afterwards. So
Wow.
yeah. So again, it's a one-off case. So you can't make this case that
Fact.
happens all the time, but it's an
Right.
interesting observation. So
That's neat.
yeah, and I know that a lot of Australian species do that. I didn't necessarily think it'd be super applicable to a tree monitor, but because I don't know termite behavior in Indonesia. Like, I don't know if they're ground dwelling species or what, you know what I mean? So I don't know
Right.
how that would look. So, but I truly believe that tree monitors don't nest in the trees. Like they don't find a
Oh,
hollow in a tree.
right.
Everything that I've seen in captivity and just common sense, at least what I think, will tell me that they will not lay eggs in a hollow of a tree. And this
Right.
is why the elevated nest box, in my experience, does not really work that well. Right.
Okay,
So
awesome. I was about to ask you about that, the elevated nest box. I mean, because I heard having that as an option doesn't hurt and sometimes, useful. But I mean, I
sure.
kind of based on what you're saying though, that shouldn't be their go-to. I mean, it naturally doesn't make sense for them to lay up high. Every monitor species, from what I can tell, digs down. They want to go down.
Yeah, like, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have options. Let's put it that way. Some people have had success with them using, arboreal nest boxes, and that's true. Um, but I don't have one. I don't have one suspended nest box, right? And I don't. It just doesn't make sense to me that they would do that, right? You got to imagine like a hollow in a tree or something that, a tree monitor goes and lays their eggs, that hollow in a tree, anything that uses that tree is going to inspect what's in there, right? They're going
100%.
to look what's in there, right? There's no hiding in there.
None.
So it just doesn't make sense that they do that. So they're all, I think they're all ground and nest dwellers. It's just, what are they, how are they doing it in the wild? I don't know. Are they using termite mounds? I don't know, but that's just what they gravitate to for me.
So let me ask you this, Brandon, your nighttime temps, what are they like? So at night when the lamps go out, what are your temps in the room? Like what do you run a heat inside the enclosures and what like with the tree monitors?
Yeah, my nighttime temp's about 80 to 81 Fahrenheit. Like that's my ambient temp in the whole building. So nothing drops below that. And I don't do anything at night in terms of like additional ceramic heating or infrared lights or anything like that. It's just I shut the lights off and then the ambient temp in the building kind of maintains it at that. Any rocks or things in the enclosure keep that thermal mass there so it stays a bit warmer for longer. And then but I just keep my room at 81. It saves me a lot of headache. But
Right. Okay, sweet.
I yeah, cold temperatures and moist environments, if that's what you do, is not a good recipe for a tree monitor for sure, right?
Okay, 100%.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, the whole you get eggs from a monitor, the incubation process, how many days typically does it take based off your experience for them to hatch?
Yeah, so I incubated about 85. And it's about 150 days. Pretty much right on the money at 85 for me. So and that seems to be across the board, greens, blues, yellows, blacks.
Nice.
And then I did with a few clutches here experiment by dropping the temperature down to 84, so a 1 degree drop, and the incubation duration went to about 165 days for blues. Anyways, that's what I was trying. So it makes a significant, I guess proportionately, it's not a great change over the whole duration of incubation, but it's notable, I guess. An extra 15 days.
Now let me ask you this, Brandon. Back to what we were talking about: green tree monitors or tree monitors. It's not good keeping them wet and too cold. Do you spray your monitors, or like do you do any of that with your tree monitors? Like, how do you keep up humidity for them?
Yeah, so I think last time I was on, I was all I was very like, I like to keep them dry and I, keep them drier than most. And, and I went on about ventilation, not, we just can't replicate natural ventilation
Right.
in enclosures. So
Right.
therefore we can't really replicate natural rainfall and humidity, right? Because if you
Right.
don't have one, you can't really do the other, or else it'll just be a gong show.
Right. Right.
So I always erred on keeping things a bit drier, but I do spray with the tree monitors now. I before I was spraying them every second day. Now I spray them every morning, a good heavy mist all over the place.
Cool.
So the tree monitors I'll spray every morning. The Odatria I still do every second day. And that's it. I give them a heavy spray, but the substrate isn't sopping wet or anything. But I try and keep the misting to all the branches and bark up top, and not let
Right.
the substrate get too moist. And so yeah, I've let's say I've doubled my misting. Now it's every day.
Okay.
So,
Respect. Now,
yeah.
now
So
go
yeah.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so I'm doing that plus the new diet regimen, and we'll see how it affects. Actually, you know what? It's good
Awesome.
because I've had one really, really stubborn blue tree female, and she was from the first clutch I ever hatched. So that was like 6 years ago. And she, in 6 years, has laid one clutch of eggs for me, right? 5 eggs. And they were beautiful, all great. But I'm like, what is going on with this animal, man? She's beautiful, right? And she's like, she looked, thinking she has great weight. And this is why I'm starting to try and think about the pieces of the rodent puzzle. I'm like, why is she not breeding when the wild caught one in the enclosure beside her mother, is breeding like a champ? What's different, right? The first 3 years of their life were different.
Right.
And so I started feeding her just bugs, like nothing but crickets, and like once every couple weeks, maybe some roaches, but just crickets. And now this week, just doing that, I've had 3. I had just today was the 3rd lock this week from blue tree pairs.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and I've been feeding just bugs for not very long yet, so I can't say it's attributed to that. But time will tell. But things look really good.
How many
So
crickets at a time are you giving them? And like, are they large crickets? Like, how big are they?
yeah, whatever you call them, 3/4 inch, right? Just pre-wing, so they don't die super quick. And I would depends on the pair, but you're looking. I feed them every second day. You're probably looking at like maybe 30 to 50 crickets,
For
give
the
or
boat,
take.
you just toss them in there, you and let them do their thing, type of thing?
Yeah, I toss them in there and I let them like forage around for the crickets and stuff, and
Right.
I get a lot of escapees, but I've tried again. I've tried putting them in bowls and things like that, and
Okay.
they don't take. Well, some guys love feeding the feeding cups and stuff.
Right.
So far I just haven't noticed. Most of my guys don't take to it very well.
Right.
Mainly probably because they're just so used to me throwing them in there and they go crazy, right? So
Right.
I'm sure it's something that they can get used to, so.
Right. Awesome. Now, okay, so let me ask you this. When it comes to a female after she lays a clutch,
Yeah.
they get pretty deflated based off what I saw. I mean, like, does she like look like a damn, she went from looking like a balloon to like like she just like completely looked like everything was empty. So as far as getting them back on food, you know what I mean? You're saying that insects is going to cut it for them. Like, even you don't need to do anything special to get a female to bounce back off a clutch. That insects is going to do it, is basically what you're saying.
Well, we'll find out again. But like I said, my ones that are like regularly breeding, right? Like every 3 months, I've always given them a rodent, a rodent a day a week or whatever, or a quail day a week, and they seem to be doing okay with that. Like that, allows them to recoup the nutrients that they need to go ahead with the next clutch. I have noticed a couple fertility issues as they get older and stuff with some eggs. So I'm
Right.
trying just on bugs. I can't see why not though. I mean, it's just volume of food and who knows? Maybe they're getting more of what they need with the bugs, you know, versus rodents. I don't know, really. I mean, we'll find out, but I, there's lots of evidence across the board with monitors about how bad, mice can be, and we see with water monitors, savanna monitors, black throat monitors, croc monitors, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the reality is, I think that monitor lizards are actually quite easy to breed, and there's a couple really bad mistakes people make. Not that it's their fault, it's just like common practice, I guess you would say. And I think maybe one of those things is feeding rodents.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
even something like a savanna monitor would never ever catch a rodent in the wild. Maybe once in its life. You know what I mean? By luck. But that's not what they're eating. So
what's your take on ground turkey? Like, because I feel like my female is one of the most pickiest eaters, but she loves ground turkey like to the fullest. I'm just curious, do you feel like that's lean enough, or that's still something that
enough? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't feed it all the time. It's good protein, but it's maybe missing a lot of other essential vitamins and minerals, right? I mean, you're talking a heavily protein laden meal, and which is fine.
what if you implement egg with it? Like, as far as like how important do you feel like egg should be fed to a monitor? Like, I mean, where's that fit in with all this? Like, as far as feeding them eggs?
I think if you're going to go with some like, bird or mammal protein, egg is about the most reasonable thing you could feed them, because that is likely what they're going to come across most in the wild.
Right.
Right. That is what they're designed, bugs and the odd egg and stuff. And part of my, part of my thinking on this was my buddy at Sundown Reptiles there, Brian Susan, we always like, he's a bit newer to tree monitors, but we're rattling ideas off, and I'm like picking his brain. I'm like, he had great luck this year with blue trees and yellow trees. He had great success hatching them all. And I was like, wow, this guy's nailing it out of the park. So we're talking back and forth. And I just ask him straight up. I'm like, do you ever feed mice to your stuff? Right. Because for all intents and purposes, he's pretty new to monitors, right? He's doing a great job. So I'm not taking anything away from him. And he's like, no, man, it's like just quail, like the odd quail, and then crickets. And I was like, man,
right,
pieces of the puzzle are just coming together more and more. So like a day old quail is pretty much like an egg, right? I mean,
right.
so
Basically.
yeah. So he, whether he knew what he was doing or not, that was just what he was doing. And it's working really well for him. So, that's one, when I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm piecing together a lot this year. I'm hoping that this is an epiphany. Already more than people know, you know what I mean? Like I think I have a feeling that everybody already knows this. I already knew this, but I don't think people realized maybe how detrimental it could be, right?
Right.
So it's like, human beings, right? Different cultures have different tolerances for different foods. We all know this, right?
100%.
Right. So think about this. Think about
Dude, my tolerance.
yeah, well, think about Indigenous Canadians and Indigenous Americans, right? They lived in North America well before European settlers, and they had their lifestyle, and they evolved with the land around them, and consumed the food off of that land. And when you take individuals from those populations and you feed them a diet that they haven't evolved with, let's say, so Indigenous people, a common problem when they start adopting a Western diet is diabetes. Okay, obesity and diabetes, because their culture has not, over the last tens of thousands of years, evolved eating that stuff. And when you throw them in a high carb diet, right, when they start consuming that, their body can't tolerate that, and it manifests itself in diabetes. So with tree monitors, I think of it being the same way. They didn't evolve eating that stuff. They didn't, it's not a part of their normal diet. So when you throw them in captivity, even if it's not super obvious to us, a lot of them are really obese, and a tree monitor hides it well, but so
Right.
that's the way I kind of look at it, like if you took an Inuit person and you started feeding them, pasta and lasagna and bread every day, they're not going to do well. They're going to be like a tree monitor eating rodents, right? So this is just not their native diet, so.
Dude, it's just so funny you say that, because so many people love, I don't do as much, but man, I love posting my Mexican food, man. I fucking Mexican food. I bleed Mexican food, and my boy Andrew, shout out to Andrew, but he's like a vegetarian. He don't even eat meat, like he just has like a certain diet that's clean. He's on the East Coast, definitely doesn't get West Coast food. So he fucking flew over here the first time and took him to a taco shop. And I was like, this is my favorite spot, bro. And dude, he inhaled his burrito. but boy, was that boy sick. He got sick. I don't know. And then the next spot, like he was sick again. And I was like, bro, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I don't know. My stomach just can't handle it. And dude, it's, I don't know. I was raised off this shit. So like, it's not, you're right. Some people eat certain food that if you give it to somebody else and that's all you give them, their body just rejects it or something. Like it's
No,
crazy.
well, I mean, and that's just like, I mean, his situation is one generation, right?
Right.
You imagine you're a culture that has been immersed in your diet for tens of thousands of years. In the case of a tree monitor, how many thousands of years have they had that diet, and you want to switch it in one generation, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, there are definite differences between, if we look at people, I mean, digestive tracts and the way people metabolize certain foods from different cultures around the world. I mean, you can look at it like skin colors. People moved around the world, skin colors and pigment arrangements changed, right? Just like everything else. I mean, if your diet is only a certain type of food, then over the course of time, your digestive tract will adapt to that. So,
Crazy.
but it's not, but it's multi-generational. It doesn't happen in one individual at any given time. It's multi-generational. So that's, that when I think about what monitors should be eating, right? I just don't, I start to think how bad that sort of stuff could be, like rodents, right?
Right.
But again, I mean, I'm experimenting myself here with like literally almost trying to do cold turkey, no rodents, and seeing.
Dude, 20 plus years in the game and you're still experiencing with shit. And I love it. Like still experimenting, still like not satisfied with what you have. So you gotta understand, a lot of people could think like, man, I'm pretty sure this isn't the best, but I'm gonna just do this anyways because I've been doing it. I don't give a fuck. Whatever happens, like that's kind of like the norm. Like you gotta understand, like people come in, like and I don't really know too much of the monitor game, but if you look at retic breeders and like ball python breeders, like we feed the living shit out of our snakes. Like we just fucking goddamn feed the shit out of them. Like I didn't know any better when I got into this. These are what people are telling me what to feed. And dude, it took me a while to realize how like a lot of this shit is just like way overthought, like feeding unnecessarily amount of food. And yeah, I still do it with the ball pythons, and that's just me being a fucking selfish fuck because I do breed them a lot and whatnot. But with the retics and all that, like feeding these things like big ass meals every week and all that, like that was so unnecessary. And it's just kind of like you almost don't know better when you are a new keeper because you're new. Like I'm just but it is up to you to pay attention, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and then as as an enthusiast, one of the pleasures you get is watching your little buddy eat something, right? I mean,
It is fun.
Good thing. I mean, that's so people want to do it all the time. And I mean, if I think back to, some of the best breeding lizards that I had, it's funny. I think about a situation, especially when I was younger, like my first pair of Kimberly Rock monitors. I didn't breed my own mice. Mice were like a luxury back then, right? I think I was still like, I was just in university living in my parents' basement, in the summers doing summer work. So I had this pair of Kimberly Rock monitors and they'd just get crickets and they would give me a clutch of eggs every month, like religiously. And, they were great breeders, and I never fed them rodents at all. If they did, it was like an extreme treat. Now that I have, a facility and I can breed my own rodents, I have the luxury of feeding rodents whenever I want to, and I don't think that's been necessarily favorable for a lot of them. So, and then I look at, like, I used to breed like womas and black-headed pythons, and I had Bolden's pythons and basins, and and my black-headed pythons were an example of like one of those aha moment species, right? I had a few buddies that had blackheads and they would treated them like ball pythons, where they'd feed them every
shit
week,
out of them.
as much as they could, and they had adults that were like double the size of mine, right? And I would feed mine like a medium rat every month, something like that, right? Just kind of like, they're happy in their cage, they're aggressive, they're always moving like the way they should be. They're hungry, try and feed them, and they bred like clockwork on that feeding regimen. They bred like clockwork. They gave me My blackheadeds they seem to be on a every second year egg laying routine. I guess you could say a minimal diet relative to what other people were doing. And my buddies that had these massive blackheads and massive womas never ever bred them. And
Right.
I don't think they're hard to breed. I think the diet killed them, right? Like the diet ruined
Dude.
them. They just got too fat.
They
You
just
know?
rolled on you?
No, not on me, on them. They didn't die. They just would never breed.
Oh, got it.
And
Okay.
I'm sure if you did a longitudinal look at how they did in the long run, they wouldn't have lived as long as my animals would have, right? And this
Right.
was something that I knew at the time. It was just maybe more laziness, maybe more cheapness, not wanting to feed them as much, maybe whatever, but it really worked out. And I kind of saw that. I was like, wow, I think that's the key, right? I think the reduced caloric diet in terms of what we typically think is maybe better. So and yeah, and again, the snake eggs were always perfect. Like they were always fertile, no slugs, you know.
Right.
So just doing it that way. If you have beadeds, and same deal, man. Same deal. People like, oh, those are some small Gila monsters you have, or those are some small beadeds, right? Because they're more lean. And like I'll feed them when I remember, kind of thing. And they again they breed every second year like clockwork. I don't power
Dude,
feed.
but Brandon, dude, mine are like knocking. If it once a week, 7 days goes by, they're like this. Hey,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
it's like they're so smart, bro. And I'm obsessed with them. Like they're like clockwork. I feed them every like 7 to 10 days because I don't
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
do it. I don't like to do it like
Yeah.
clockwork, but God bless them. I'll wait for them to take their gigantic dump, and then about 2 days after that, I'll offer them a meal. But I won't never offer them until I see them drop a big load, because
Yeah.
typically they'll drop that load and then they'll like, all right, but man, dude, I go in at night because like if it's the first thing Steven, he's like, yo, these things are arboreal, bro. He's like, so if you put perches up and he's like, you'll see them climb. I'm like, say less. So I have like some of the big ones in like 5x2s and stuff like that. And dude, they use every inch of the enclosure, bro. Like I'll go in there at nighttime. They'll be hanging. Like it's like the coolest thing in the world watching these things roam around. And I'm obsessed, man. I mean, listen, I always love the snakes. Don't get me wrong, but what the monitors and what the beadeds, what they're instilling in me, like the appreciation for reptiles has just gone through the roof. Like
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate the interaction I get to have with
Yeah.
a beaded, especially too, because there are precautions you should take when handling one. But man, mine are just all like huff and puff, and you can handle the shit out of them. They'll be fine. I still don't do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not Mr. Like I have buddies who come over and do that. And I'm like, you're fucking nuts. I just don't have that kind of luck. I rather just be safe about it. But once you get them out, once they're good, they're chill. Like, I don't know what it is. They just have like this, sense of them of just like, all right, I'm just chilling, let them cruise and do their thing. I love beadeds, bro. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, they're great. I actually have a clutch of beadeds due to hatch here in the next couple weeks. So I've been poking my head in there.
What species of beaded? Like, what can we talk about? What type of beaded you work with?
I just have the exasperatums.
Nice. Oh, I love them. So
Yeah,
are they Rio Fuertes or what
Yep.
kind of?
Yeah,
Nice.
rear tortoise. Yeah.
What's their background? Like, what's the original stock from? Who'd you get them from?
Steve Angeli.
Steve Angeli. What a player.
Yeah. I love that
Love
guy.
that guy. That guy right there, man. If you could get that guy on your good side, man, whoo, that's somebody good to have on your side. I'll tell you that right now.
I feel bad, man, because I still keep in touch with him once in a while, and he always messages me. He's like, hey, I've got some Alvarezi hatching, and I'm just like,
and he's like this. He's like this when he's telling you on the other end of the phone. He's like, hey, I got something you want. Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. So, but man, you could go as a reptile, you could go spend all your money on new projects. You got to learn to like reel it in a bit, right? So,
and then also spend them with the right people, though, too. You understand. The only reason why I got into the beaded project was because who I was getting them from. Steve is a world class fucking, like, he's the man. Like, that's the man right there, plain and simple, when it comes to beaded. So for me to have that opportunity, and I actually do have a pair of Applegate stuff. I don't know if you know who Applegate is, but I have a big male by the name of Poncho, who's like a proven breeder. Guy's a fucking monster, and he's original from Applegate. He's Applegate stock. But like I said, I did research. Like I didn't just get these things from anybody. You know what I mean? Like I understood what I had, and it just made everything better once I did have them, how awesome they were. And just to kind of see, like I said, going back to the fresh water thing, like how they literally bury their face in that fresh water. Like they love it, and they'll literally come out of their hides just to drink. And I see it all the time. So it's awesome. Let me ask you, what kind of setups or what do you have? What do you keep your beadeds in right now? Like, how do you have your beadeds? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I keep them all separate, and they're in basically 4x2x2 enclosures. Right. I have a big female that's in a 6-foot long enclosure. So just like, whatever this, I just keep them on actually cypress mulch, just what I do the monitor lizards, and then, a nice box where they can hide in, that's moist. So they have that like moist micro habitat so they don't dry out. And then, like you said, the beadeds love climbing, man. They'll climb anything. We could put like cork boards up the walls and they'll hang on it just like a tree monitor.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
So that's what I do. It's nothing crazy, but and then the Gilas, they're all in 4x2x2s, more of a terrestrial type setup, but yeah, not too hot though, like a monitor. They're on the cooler side, so they're always in bottom enclosures.
Now, I mean, I'm sure with them, obviously, you do feed them rodents, right? When you do feed them, correct? Okay. And obviously, like your biggest beaded is eating what? What do you feed your biggest beaded?
Just mice.
Just mice?
That's what I breed, man. Yeah, like that's what I breed. I think mice are maybe a little less fattier option than a big rat, but and the other thing too, I mean, I always like smaller meals than big meals, right? Like I would rather feed a big beaded lizard, 3 or 4 mice than a couple big fat medium rats, right? I just I don't know. I think it seems to sit better with them too.
So like one jumbo mice, or like, well, give me an example. How much are you giving them in per serving? Is it just one at a time?
It'd be about 3 mice. So 3 adult mice.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 adult-sized mice. I breed like Swiss Webster mice, I think they're called, and
okay.
So I'll feed them, 3 of those, and that seems to be enough. They would eat more. They would definitely eat more. But one of the things with beadeds and Gilas, I find beadeds in particular, they will regurgitate if they do too much, if they eat too much.
So check this out. You want to hear the horror side of me getting into the beaded game? You want to hear what happened to me?
Sure.
So as much as I did my research and like I knew where these beadeds were coming from, the gentleman didn't really do the best at suggesting what I should do with some of them, because I picked up a group of 6, okay? And 3 of these were proven breeders, like they had bred to each other. So he was recommending me that I keep all 3. So here's the thing. I got as far as the breeding group I got from him was 1 male, which was Poncho, the big Poncho, and then there was 3 females. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I asked him, I was like, what do you recommend I put him in? I want to give him space. I was like, I have an 8x3. I was like, I mean, but what do you recommend? And he was like, well, why don't you put the 3 females together in this 8x3, and then you could put the male in the 8x3 by himself. And I'm like, can the females be cool with them? Like, are they chill? He's like, yeah, they'll be fine. They actually cohabitate in the wild together, all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, fine. He's like, they just came out of brumation. Oh my God, brumation.
Yeah, brumation. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, you know what I mean. So he told me, he's like, have some food thought out. I need to get them to eat. And I'm like, all right, and so he shows me he shows me Poncho. I was like, God, fucking beast. Shows me the other 2 females. They look pretty big too. Then he pulls out this last female that was like pretty scrawny. Like she had like a skinny butt. Like she just looks a lot noticeably skinnier than the other ones. Right. And I was just like, ooh, I don't know. But anyway, so we're feeding them, and he's like, yeah, make sure that she gets a smaller meal. He told me like the one that didn't look so big, make sure you give her like a wrap pup, or like don't give her a big meal. So I'm like, all right, cool. So, I'm feeding them all one. And so I give the smaller, skinnier one like a really small wrap pup. She inhales it, but then immediately goes and jacks the small rat out of the like other one's mouth. And I'm like talking to him, and then by the time I pay attention, she's like already like ripping it out. And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, dude, she's about to eat that small rat. And he's like, oh, she should be fine. She should be fine. Long story short, 2 days later, she puked that up. And she puked it up, and I didn't find it till later on the day. It was one of those things where like it was that stench, like that regurg stench that fucking smacks you in the forehead, and like you don't know how you originally missed it, but you missed it. You missed it long enough where it's bad. Well, here's the thing. About a week later, so no, not about a month later, so that lizard died. That fucking beaded rolled over, blew up, and then next thing you know, these other two started regurgitating. They just started regurgitating. Like they were eating, and then as soon as this one died, they started regurgitating. Like their next meal following that, they were puking, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I didn't know what was going on. I'm assuming something got in the water or something. Whatever what was sick with that smaller one obviously got put into the females that they're with, and I'm assuming it had to do with the water or something that they drank similar. I don't know, but
Yeah.
you're way better off keeping them separate than in groups for sure. 110%. So long story short, out of those 3 females, that one died. The other 2, I had to get Steve. Shout out to Steve. He actually sent me some medication for them to kind of get them going again. And I was able to get them eating again. Like they were actually able to like hold small meals down, but their discharge looks really weird. Like the way they're digesting it is not normal. So, cool thing is the guy, who I did get them from he wanted them back. He's like, well, if this is what's going on with them, I'd rather take these girls back. And I was like, well, yeah, take the sick girls back. I'll keep Poncho because Poncho's great. Nothing's wrong with him. But, he has those 2 other girls. I haven't checked in with them in a while. I should probably do that. But, hopefully they're doing better. But it was very unfortunate watching these things crash. Like it really hurt. Like I did not like seeing that at all because these things came in monstrous and were like great. And then all of a sudden started going down like domino effect after that one crashed, all because I feel like they were housed together,
Yeah. It's tough to say what causes that. I mean, oftentimes when you pull things just out of brumation, you don't want to feed them right away. You want to give them like a decent, like something like a beaded, you pull them out of brumation, you let them warm back up and get things fired up for at least a week or so, right? And maybe longer before. And then, I mean, once you do have like, and this is common, I think, with the emerald tree boa guys and stuff. Once you have one that is a regurgitator, it typically is habitual, right? Like they'll do it, they're more prone to do it. So you really have to like patiently feed them really small meals and only a little bit, and until they build up that tolerance again, from what I've seen. So, and that's hard for people to do because they always want to, I think he's better now, I'm going to just feed him a couple mice instead of just one, and bam, that stuff happens again. I hear it all the time, right? So it's
I'm so guilty of it. Like I'm a fat ass dude. Like I love eating. I'm an excessive eater, Brandon. And why, and honestly, like, why do you think I was so like, okay, feed it once a week? Sounds fun. I get to feed these things and watch them eat. But like, dude, the slow game's the best game, man. Like honestly, slow growth, maturity, no rush. All that is in your best interest when keeping any reptile. I feel like almost any animal. I mean, I don't know about mammals. We're talking, but reptiles specifically, snakes, monitors. You know what I mean? Like less is more, man. Like less is way more. And I'm shocked, dude. I was not ready for you to say that you are going rodentless. Like, I mean, that's crazy. Like and I'm excited, bro. This only makes the round 2 we're gonna have down the road even that much more exciting when we talk about what the results are. And hey man, I know you're somebody who will fucking talk about the realness. If things aren't going well, I'm sure you'll mention it. Things are going great, I'm sure you'll mention it. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm seeing interesting things already, so I'm very optimistic. Let's put it that way. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you could still feed your stuff rodents, but maybe once a week is just too much, right?
Right.
If it's not going well, so we'll see what happens. But yeah.
So, I mean, I could tell you one thing I'm really excited about. I mean, I'm figuring it out right now, but guess what I'm breeding right now that's a part of my monitor dieting program? Can you guess?
Monitored cockroaches?
No.
Stick bugs?
No. Stick bugs, that'd be sick, but no.
They love them.
Grasshoppers, my man.
Oh, you Americans down there have access to these great Californian grasshoppers. I saw some posts online about that. I'd love to get them.
There's one guy that I know that's fucking killing it in the game. Like he's like, bro, he's basically breaking the mold. I don't know if you follow him. His name's Kai. I call him Junior. But do you know who he is?
Typhon?
Yep. Hell yeah.
I've seen him. Yeah.
That's my boy, bro. So he's the one right now really changing things up with the insect game by breeding these amazing fucking grasshoppers, bro. And he's helping me out. Like I've had a couple grasshopper cycling breed go down, but right now with what's happening to me, we have a bad cold front here in San Diego, and I keep my grasshoppers in the living room. And these grasshoppers, I mean, it's kind of like what you said with the termites. I think you're right. They need like the ambient needs to be like at least 80 or up. You know what I mean? Especially for them to lay. So that substrate needs to be warm. Right now, that substrate, I have heat pads underneath it, and I'm struggling right now keeping that warming up. So I'm not getting anything, but my man Kai has been like just helping me out a lot. So I'm really very inspired and eager to get these grasshoppers going, especially after having this talk with you about why insects should be a primary diet versus the rodents. But here's my man's Kai Instagram page. I'm telling you right now, the guy's just killing it with the grasshoppers, bro.
Yeah.
He's putting out so many orders, it's bizarre. Like the dude never sleeps. I appreciate his grind so much right now, man. But I just love like the shit he works with, bro. Like, I mean, these are so neat looking too. Like, I just love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're lucky because they're the grasshoppers and stuff that we get up here. When they lay eggs, they have to be cold stratified, which means you have to like refrigerate the eggs for them to hatch well, which is kind of a pain in the butt if you're doing it for a feeder situation. Right. So this is why it's almost like it's not worth my while. And now if I could get some of those Californian grasshoppers, that would be amazing. But cross-border, potential pest species will not happen for me. So, but in that article that I was reading, the primary food source that they found in the guts of those Prasinus were a katydid, which is just a grasshopper, right? Basically. And and the lots of stick bugs too. They love stick bugs.
Dude, I want to get some. Dude, imagine the stick bug game. I mean, I don't even know where you could get stick bugs. I didn't even know that was a source of diet for the pet trade. I didn't know. I mean, can you get stick bugs?
I mean, I can get them. There's some. Sometimes there's companies that will sell them as like an eco-friendly. Without using chemicals, and so there's a few places like that where you can buy stick bugs. It's just buying enough of them to feed a monitor colony is a bit, you have to find some way to scale it, right, which is difficult. That's why roaches are nice, because you can breed lots of them in a small space. But again, all of these bugs have to be kept warm to gut load well, to survive well, and to reproduce well. They have to be kept above 80. Right. So like even the cockroaches, if I put the cockroaches on the floor of my shop and the floor will drop below 80 just because it's at the floor level just a bit, they don't do well. They don't gut load well. They just don't breed well. They'll live because they're cockroaches. But the second I lift them up and put them on top of, a stack of cages in their big bins and then throw food in there, it's like, disappears. Right. So, if you can figure out how to breed those locusts well, then that'd be amazing, right? Like that's a great food source.
Hey, I'm just happy I've been able to keep him alive for this long, because you know what? You want to know what my dumbass did with the first 3 that he shipped me? So he shipped me 75 grasshoppers 3 times. You want to know why it took me 3 times to figure this out, Brandon?
Why?
So obviously he's like, yeah, dude, warm ambient. You want, like, you know, telling me what I should do. And I'm like, perfect. My snake trap, obviously perfect for that situation. Well, not really. You want to know why? Because I have fucking no pest strips and they were killing them. So like, and I didn't know this. So like, as like, I'm every day I'm seeing these things just die. Like there's like green shit coming out of them. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? They're eating each other. Their wings are falling off. And I'm like, Kai, what's going on, man? Like, I like, am I this bad? He's like, bro, he's like, it sounds like you're doing everything right. So like, I'm like literally ready to give up. And he's like, yo, this is on me. I'm sending you this on me. Don't worry about it. He's like, maybe put him somewhere else. Like, cause I had put him in the trap. That didn't work. Then I put him in a different room inside the trap. That didn't work. And then he's like, maybe like put him outside, or how about don't put him in the trap? And as soon as he said that, my hand hit the desk, and you know what it hit? Was the no pest strip. And I looked at it and I was like, son of a bitch, this is what's been killing him the entire time. These fucking no pest strips. So
are those yellow strips, those blocks that you put in the?
Yeah, bro. Those, I mean, I'm getting so many people telling me not to fuck with those. And they've worked, you know, I've been miteless for a long time, but I feel like, you know, I could do, you know, there's other avenues for it. But anyways, I was just like, God damn it, I need to get these things out. So I got them out of there. I set them up outside. This is summertime. It was super hot. And dude, they fucking thrived. They started rocking and rolling, bro. And I was like, hell yeah. And then, like, you know, I realized it was my dumbass fucking poisoning them with that shit. So thank you, Kai, for fucking, because dude, I was literally like about to give up. I was just, you know, I bought a Reptile cage for it. Like I did all this fucking shit to get it going. And, you know, I understand that failure gets you to success, but man, at that point in time, I was just over watching these things die. So, but dude, the homie, he helped me push through. And, you know, like I said, right now, because of our cold front, they're inside the house. And, you know, my wife is cool, but she's not going to let me get the house up to 80 fucking 3 degrees. She's like, listen, motherfucker, like you could have him in here, but the house is not going to get 80 degrees. And I don't want to live like a sweaty pig anyways. So right now, listen, they're eating. I give them fresh, organic romaine lettuce every single day. I keep that bottom soil moist once a week. And, you know, we'll see what happens. Right now, I'm in a good place. I could just tell you the grasshoppers are not going anywhere. I am a grasshopper breeder for life.
I wish.
Well, but okay, so wait, there's no possibilities of you ever getting grasshoppers up there? Like it just can't happen?
Well, not your native species. So it boils down to like the Food Inspection Agency stuff, where they are just deemed as a potential agricultural pest, right? So if they ever got out, they're worried about there being like plagues of locusts in Canada because they're invasive, right? Like that's kind of the thought process, I think. So
right.
They would not give you permission to ship them across the border. I mean, even like tropical cockroaches that won't, you know, they would not survive and become a pest species here. Even those are banned in most provinces. So,
Right.
Although I did hear that they're going to allow them potentially, so hopefully that would be great for the reptile hobby up here. But like right now, the only bugs that you can have are either native ones or ones that they've deemed to be potentially invasive and threatening our agricultural industry. So crickets and mealworms and stuff like that are about it. So, but yeah.
Well, good to know. Shit. So okay, Brandon, let me ask you this. I talk about this every episode, it seems like, because I give so much love to the new keepers. Like the new keepers, the new wave is the future of this goddamn reptile industry as a whole, right? So with that being said, you have people like myself who get into the ball python game. They find other loves, other passions, you know, like for me, it was green trees, emeralds, and then now monitors, right? So what I'm trying to say is there's people new into this that quickly want to get into the monitor game and, green tree. What's funny is I posted my eggs just to be happy. And people are like, do you have a wait list? Or like, hey, they want it. And I'm just thinking like, okay, guy, even if I get eggs, you think I'm going to fucking just sell them off? Like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, you could get green tree monitors. I mean, you could get imports. They're not that hard to get, So what's your advice, would you say, for anyone who's wanting to, or, looking to get into the tree monitor game? Like, what are some things you could kind of prepare them for?
Well, I mean, you should have, they're not easy, right? I would say that the intelligence of a tree monitor can probably rival that of a lot of household dogs, to be quite honest, in what I've seen.
Right.
Intelligence in a different way. They're very, very smart, which means they're also very prone to being unhappy. And so but as long as some basic things are met, with in terms of temperature and humidity and enclosure size and visual barriers and and I'm a proponent of keeping them solo until I know exactly what I have and I'm ready to breed them, and then sourcing a monitor. Let's say you feel you're at the point where you want to get one, where do you go from there? And in my experience in the last couple years, the importation of tree monitors from Indonesia has been slim to none. And now I don't know if that's, if it's a combination of the fact that COVID, for one, has shut down supply chains. Two, they're becoming increasingly rare in their native habitat, right? Like I've heard stories about, not being able to find black tree monitors in their native environment and anymore. So that's why they're very rare. So there's that. The European Union has put out a stipulation where they will not accept any tree monitors out of Indonesia now unless they're under 15 centimeters in total length, and that's to ensure that it's always been a mandate that they were supposed to be F2 captive bred in Indo to be exported. But we all know that never happened, right? You have the exporters, they just wild collect, throw them in a bag, call them F2, and there you go. You're getting big adults and stuff. So, but now basically what that's done is I think the European Union is really, really limited to almost either if they're wild caught or captive hatched in Indo, they have to be 15 centimeters long, and that's it, or captive bred. So you have in the US, it's different. The US hasn't mandated that. So you can still get wild collected larger animals from Indonesia, as far as I know. And they come in the odd time, not as frequently as they have pre-COVID, let's say, which has driven the price up, which, has, as people that have been looking have probably noticed, right? And but the problem with getting a captive hatched or captive bred tree monitor from Indonesia, as people will call them, is who you're buying them from, right? There are a number of horror stories of people trying to buy, farmed animals or captive bred Indonesian animals from suppliers and people, well known to the industry that it never happens. They don't get the animal they want, so it's a bunch of nightmares. So what I'm trying to say is, try to deal with a reputable guy. If you're going to deal with somebody, read the BOIs, talk to people. Who should I stay away from? I mean, it's out there. I mean, in the last couple of years, the number of scams that have been going on in terms of, just the number of people that have used my pictures alone has been epic. I mean, all the time I get people sending me messages, this scammer, is this your picture? So I even, to the point, stopped taking pictures now and just do videos where I'm talking so that people know it's me, right? So find some good, reliable breeders. I mean, there's some breeders that are producing them consistently. If you're in the US, which I'm sure the majority of your fan base is, right? Like you want a blue tree monitor, there's sundown reptiles and there's naked dragons, right? They produce them regularly. Green trees, I think like guy Nick Gill has a bunch that he produces regularly. So there's guys that are known in the groups that are, producing nice captive bred stuff. They're maybe a little bit more money than you'd see a Florida monitor peddler selling them for. But trust me, it's well worth
What a peddler.
Florida monitor pet. But trust me, it's worth the money, right?
I
Because
love it.
you know, if somebody's selling you a captive bred green tree monitor for $1,500, let's say USD, and you know, you have the opportunity to get one from somebody, you know, a wild caught one from Indonesia for $900 or $1,000. You know, the likelihood of you actually getting the lizard you order is slim to none. And
Right.
you know, if you do, it's likely going to be in rough shape and cause you nothing but headaches. But trust me, the hassle that you will go through dealing. Well, and then if you buy from a guy like me, right? You know, you have, you know, or Sundown or Nick Gill or whoever, you know, whoever's breeding them. There's some established guys, they're naked dragons, right? Whoever's breeding them regularly.
Stephen
You know,
Kush.
yeah, you know, so we're guys that will help you every step of the way. You know, I'll help you. I don't care. And someone like me, man, I'm even more compassionate. If some crap were to hit the fan, right, where you lost your monitor or something, I'd feel so sorry for you because I know how much that would mean to somebody like me. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give you you know what I mean? Like almost
Right.
to that point, right? Whereas you get these other guys that, you know, you can't even get a picture of the lizard you're buying, let alone, you know, support after the fact. So just keep that in mind. Get it from a good source where you'll get support. And the guys that I've mentioned, right? Like Stephen Kush and, you know, myself, Brian Susan, and you know, Naked Dragons and Nick, you're not going to lie to you about what they're doing, you know. So and they're going to help you along the way. So, you know, I've had the same experience. You know, I've tried, you know, unfortunately for me, we don't get many wild caught tree monitors imported into Canada, right? We're like the bottom of the barrel. It's like, oh, whatever's left over, we'll send it to Canada, which is never much, you know. So,
Right.
you know, I've tried to buy monitors from, you know, guys in Florida or whatever, and it's just like, man, just lie after lie after lie. And I actually, like, I knew this going in, and you know, I paid using mechanisms where I could get my money back if it didn't happen. But and this stuff that they would tell me is like, you know, not that I'm like, you know, I don't want to sit on a high horse here, but like, you're really going to try and tell me that? You're going to tell me
Yeah.
that that is the same lizard that you sold me? Like, you know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff. It's like, really? I'm not new to this thing, right? So for the new guys, be careful where you buy them. Don't
Yeah,
impulse
definitely.
buy. Don't impulse buy anything, right? Like
Yep.
do your research in every front. And it's not worth it to save a few $100. It's not worth it. The hassle you're going to get, right? So even if it means you have to wait 2 months to save up the extra couple $100 or $300-400 to buy, you know, a captive bred one, it's well worth it. And then, you know, just once you're getting started in anything, man, like I've been dealing with a lot of people recently, and it's been kind of frustrating in terms of like the level of impatience that people have, you know. And
I
I'm
mean, that kind of leads to like, you know, overfeeding. You know what I
sure,
mean? Like it's like the exact same thing. Like, you know,
yeah,
why you're overfeeding because you're impatient to wait to feed it 2 weeks later. Like you just want to
yeah,
feed it for your own pleasure, you know? Same shit.
yeah. I see. Patience is key, man.
You have to.
If you are impatient with these
Things,
things,
things are
they
gonna
will
die.
it will haunt you, and you will ruin good animals. And
You don't
I
you want to know where all my patience is at? Brandon? You froze, but it's okay.
wait.
You
How about
there?
now?
Okay. You want to know you want to know where my patience is at right now?
Where?
In the freezer, and it stays there.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything that I had to learn from either impulse buying, not doing things improper, not like, you know, when somebody told me, hey, you should fix something, not fixing it, waiting, you know what I mean? All my humble beginnings, all from being impatient, is in my freezer. I'm telling you right now. And so, what happens, Brandon, if you're not patient and you're new into this and you're getting away with not being patient for now, well, wait until things start dying on you. Then you're gonna be like, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like, you know, and I'm gonna harp on the younger generation a little bit here because I'm 40 years old, right? So I see a lot of young guys that are really enthusiastic, but it's like the instant gratification mindset that we've been living in, right? Like, you know, I grew up before the internet, but people that have had nothing but instant access to information and, purchasing power and all this stuff, it's ingrained in them. So patience is a difficult thing for a lot of people. Like when I used to sell Kimberly rock monitors, still to this day, I will keep them separate until they are a year and a half old, right? Keep them separate. It'll give them time to grow up, raise up, get good size. And
Get a
then when you
personality.
introduce them, what's that?
And then like develop their own personality, you know what I mean? Like become their own, become their own lizard, basically.
But basically you grow them up independently in a nice stress-free environment. Wait your year and a half to 2 years, right? Don't just because the literature says they can breed at 9 months doesn't mean that is the best situation.
Right.
So wait, and you will be rewarded tenfold. Like you will be rewarded in the number of clutches, the size of the clutches, and the health of the babies. And I'm still flabbergasted to this day how Kimberly rock monitors are not more common than leopard geckos because of their prolific nature. And the one thing that I can
Dude,
boil it down.
they're way cooler. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Kimberly rock monitors are fucking awesome. They're like it's like
Yeah.
having a mini real life dinosaur, but it's mini. Like they act
But-
exactly the same.
Yeah, man. But the one, well, the two critical facts. One, they're difficult to incubate. But the other thing is that people ruin good monitors by trying to breed them too early, right? Impatient. And I'll tell this to every single customer that I have that buys one. Wait a year and a half. You know how many
Right.
times people at 9 months because they read an old Reptiles magazine article or read something in a forum or something, and they do it. And yeah, will they lay eggs? Yeah, this tiny female will give you 3 or 4 eggs once, and that's it, right? Like that's
Right.
maybe she'll lay another clutch every 6 months from there, but you've stunted her growth and you've kind of, in my opinion, ruined her for life. Whereas if you waited that extra 7-8 months to give her a good size, she'll lay a clutch of eggs every month. That could be anywhere from 8 to 12 eggs. And when I say every month, I mean literally every month. I've had a Kimberly rock monitor lay 13 clutches of eggs in 13 months, right? So yeah, that's doable. I mean, that's really, that's the extreme end, but it wouldn't be much to say a Kimberly rock monitor could lay 50 eggs in a year. I mean, that female laid over 100 in a year. So yeah, buddy. So
Damn.
patience is key. And, and that goes with it's easy for me to say too. I always say this, it's easier for me to say because I have so many things that I can forget about one and deal with the other. But if you have like that one awesome pair of Kimberly rock monitors that this is your like dream lizard, right? It's a real challenge, man. It's a real challenge. It's like a drug addict looking at that drug sitting there on the table, right? Like it's too tempting.
Itch. Yep.
Yeah, but it's for personal growth. It's great, right? If you can endure that and hold off, it's good that way, and your lizards will thank you for it for sure, right? So
Let me ask you this, Brandon. It's a wrap-up question, okay, before we get into the hot seat questions. And I want to know, like let's say, when it comes down to monitors, not only the research, the consideration who you're buying from, just how you should be cautious with those things. But dude, where you live, like the house size, I mean, what space you have, all that shit matters. So let's kind of talk about some of the like requirements that you feel is necessary to house some, baby to adult tree monitors. You know what I mean? Like what are some standards in your eyes? Because hey man, I've seen some poor conditions some of these tree monitors are kept in just by going to local pet shops. Like I can't stand it sometimes. So these things need a lot of space from what I could tell. Then they'll utilize it, and so I'm curious, like what do you currently keep your adults in size wise? And if room wasn't, like let's just say size wasn't an issue, how big would you go for these? And I'm just curious.
Oh man, this is a loaded question because well, okay, we'll start out with babies. Like, so let's say I get some hatchlings. I have in my shop, I have rows of enclosures that range in size from 6 feet long. They're all 2 feet tall and 2 feet deep, but so 6 feet long, 3 feet long, or 4 feet long. So one single baby tree monitor will go into a 3 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosure. Cool. Just because that's what I have. You could do it smaller, right? But that's what I have. I trust that caging. I trust the way it's set up to hold heat and humidity in. So I throw them in there and they do really well in that. So that's that's good. So once I have them in that, if it's usually they stay in that until I sell them, or if it's something that I'm raising up myself, they'll stay in that for 5-6 months maybe. Then they get to a point where it's like, all right, time to bump you up to the 4 foot long by 2 foot by 2 foot, and then I keep them in there for up till about a year old. Then once they're a year to a year and a bit, then I'll move by 4 feet wide by 2 feet deep. And I know that people will consider that small, and I've done bigger, and I know people do bigger. And that's only a pair though. I don't keep groups in that, right? So that would be a pair at most, but um in my experience, that's what works. And I think we talked about this on the last podcast as well, but they when you have really big enclosures, I mean, just because the enclosure is big doesn't mean it's good, first of all. Second of all, I find when you have really big enclosures, they don't use it, right? They don't use the whole space. I know you said they utilize it all, and maybe yours do, but I just found that they never did. They always like the upper part of it. Even in my enclosures that I use now, they very rarely go to the floor of the enclosure. And it's as dynamic as the upper part. So that's what I have the adults in, adult pairs, and they breed well in there.
Brandon,
Yo,
I need to stop you, and I'll
yeah,
let you because this could be an experiment for me to collaborate with you on. So
yeah.
I'm curious. When you say they don't roam the bottom, do you have any real UBV going down at the bottom of that floor? Like any kind of lighting spotting on that floor? I'm just curious.
No, so they have their perch branches. Like the UV lighting is only at the top, right? So that diminishes as you go a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. By the time you get 4 feet down, it's pretty dark at the bottom of the enclosure, especially with all the overhanging branches and stuff, right? So, and bark.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If you're willing to, because I do have, okay, so I'm staring at one of my green tree monitors are about 5.5 feet tall, right?
Mhm.
And I have basking and UBV on the very top, right? And then about mid-level down, I have 2 other spots of UBV, like just right slightly underneath the basking, right?
Sure.
And the thing was, I had some regular UBV Zoomed bulbs, like those standard long fucking bulbs. Well, they would just either snap those off. Didn't really care. I didn't really see too much activities with those. But have you heard of VivTech? And this isn't like a plug or anything like that. But have you ever heard of VivTech? The VivTech.
Heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
So my boy Ryan McVeigh, dude, we've had hour conversations, and I'm not gonna lie. After the 3 hours, I was like, cool, light bulbs, right on. Like, I'm happy
Yeah.
for you, buddy. But I actually put these fucking bulbs in the enclosure finally. I have 3 of them. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how much they expose themselves underneath this light. It is insane. So if I personally send you on the house some VivTech bulbs, will you maybe put them in one enclosure and just see what happens?
Yeah, I'd love to try.
Perfect. We just collaborated. I can't wait. I'm sending you some. Don't trip.
Good.
I'm gonna send you a podcast shirt too. I'll send you a podcast shirt too. Don't trip.
I'll send you a Canadian Coldblood shirt.
Anyways, okay, no, but continue about the caging. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop you. Anyway,
I mean, but in terms of cage size, that's what I do, right? And the only reason I mean, could we go bigger? Sure, lots of people have bigger enclosures with success. I just find like with my pairs, I don't go any more than a pair, but just in observation, they rarely use the bottom of the enclosure, and when they're out, they're always like under the lighting and running around up top. So, I feel like it really wouldn't be that bad a deal to chop a bit of the bottom off and shorten it up to 4 feet rather than 5 or 6.
right.
And then it makes heating the whole thing and heating your nest box and heating the substrate that much easier as well, right? So I can't tell you that I've observed any negative.
You there?
Yeah.
I all I heard was I didn't observe any negative, and you paused again. What'd you say? Any negative what?
Oh, I said I don't observe any negatives to the size of enclosure that I'm using. And like if I did, I'd be the first one to change it. Like I'd revamp and rebuild everything, right? So
Right.
like these dimensions are, not something that I just arbitrarily, made up either. I mean, they're from years of experience of trimming a bit here, adding a bit here, doing this, doing that to find what works, right? So
One more time with those dimensions. Can you? I just want to write them down. What were those dimensions? One more time.
Yeah, so for adult enclosure, 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and 2 feet deep.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, you can go bigger. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
That's what works for you.
yeah, I mean, and I told this story the last time we had the podcast too about a pair of black tree monitors that I had, and so I had acquired my group of black tree monitors wild caught. They were all in quarantine, and their in quarantine cages were 4 feet long by 2 feet tall by 2 feet deep. Right,
Right.
just put them all in there, isolate them, give them lots of water, keep them hot as hell, feed the crap out of them. 6 months later, you can breed them, right? Sort of thing.
Right.
And I had this, I think I got a little anxious there. I lost my patience and I was like, man, this female looks great. It looks like she's doing some stuff. I'm going to put one of the males with her. This was like 4 or 5 months in. And the male I put with her literally like as soon as I put him in, all over her in a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. And all over her, bred her. They were happy. She laid a great clutch of eggs in the nest box that I put in there. And it was one of those things where it was like, now what? Do I move them to a bigger enclosure and risk them not being happy? Or is this like ideal for that pair? Like if I were to show that in a forum and say, look at this pair I put in here, they bred, they laid a clutch of eggs, they're doing well. You'd be crucified, right? And I don't think that that's the right size either, but it worked, so, now they're not in that anymore because those were just quarantine enclosures. But just to put things into perspective, I mean, it had what she needed and she was happy. And, so don't be under the assumption that bigger is always better, right? Because when
Right.
you get if you have an 8 foot wide by 6 foot tall by 3 foot deep enclosure, I mean, most of it's empty space anyways,
And you're
right?
gonna see it. That thing's gonna be
Yeah,
hiding.
that's it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But to each their own. I mean, that's great. If that's
Right.
what you want to do. If it works, it works. I'm not gonna, I mean, to be honest, I've seen somebody get good clutches of eggs and have a really nice looking pair of blue trees in like a Exoterra that was like 18 inches deep by 36 tall by 36 wide. I mean, it was a glass. I'm like, what? How is this even possible? And it was like they were doing it. So
Right.
not to say that's ideal either, but I don't know. Again, you have to make some criteria that defines what a happy, healthy monitor is. Once you're certain about that criteria, then you can dictate what enclosure meets that criteria. But I still don't think anybody knows what that is in terms of a happy, healthy monitor. Really?
And what's crazy is I feel like what would make a necessary enclosure of that size, 8 feet tall, 6 feet deep for green tree monitors, if they were kept outside, like in a Florida situation, like meaning like it's all vegetated, it's all fucking just covered up. Because shout out to Tom Crutchfield. Tom Crutchfield keeps he has some really, really nice Persinuses that he keeps outside, and they're like, naturally in the sun all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's some great benefits to that for sure, right? I'm obviously referring to just indoor enclosures.
Right. So let me ask you this then, okay? Because if you were me, if you were or let's just say you're in a position where you could keep these outside, you have the property, the safety, the weather, everything. Would you put them outside still, Brandon? Or would you keep them inside if you had the option?
I would probably, I mean, provided they were doing their thing regularly, I'd like to put them outside. I mean, you can't beat natural sunlight, and you can't beat the natural just exposure to the scents in the air and all this new stuff they would experience. I mean, that's amazing, right?
Right.
I can't recreate that. Like I could put them outside in July, right? Here.
Right.
That's about it.
Right.
But then, it's I find once you have a lizard that has been enclosed in an enclosure, right? They're happy in there. But when you put them outside, it's like they're shell shocked, man. They
It's
like don't know
fucking
what to do. They don't act, I had
no.
Australian water dragons that were captive bred, and I've
Yeah.
tried this with a few species. And those are more of a cold tolerant species too. They're pretty hardy, and they were great inside, and they did amazing. And I made this wicked outdoor enclosure for them. Like
Oh my
same
God.
deal. It was like 8 feet tall, like cut down trees from the forest, threw them all over the place. Full exposure. Dude, I put them in that, man. I swear those things never moved. They were
Right.
so shell shocked in there. Like, oh, what the hell? There's a bird. Like it was like, so. I think if that's something that you can keep them in all the time, that's great. But maybe the transition is too stressful for them. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, listen, this has been an amazing episode, Brandon, and more to come. I can tell you right now because I'm so fresh into this. I'm so green into this. And you're acting so fresh. You have some new experiment stuff that you're going on. I'm so happy with what is on. It's like you're not getting complacent, and I love that. Like I love people seeing who's, even though they're successful at something, they still want to become better at it. And that's the kind of example I feel like that needs to be in this kind of industry. Because I don't know. I feel like if you're not pushing yourself and not really making your brain work on this, then what are you really doing? Like I don't know. I just give you a lot of props for what you're doing, and this is an episode that I'm going to keep on the back burner and probably continuously listen to. This has been great, man. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Now listen, there is what? Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's you just keep an open mind, right? And you learn. We know literally so little about what we are doing with these things, right? So,
right.
But yeah, so there's always room to improve.
Right. So okay, now these hot seat questions I need to hit you with are what you need to complete in order for this episode to be over with. Okay,
so good.
Do me a favor if you can, Brandon. Do not give me an explanation with every hot seat question answer. If you can, just try your best. Honestly, I get it. Sometimes it's not easy, but quicker the better. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hot seat questions for Brandon Van Hast. You ready, buddy?
I'm ready.
All right. Coming in hot. When it comes to feeding, frozen thawed or live?
Live.
A cut or no cut?
Like a cut in the prey? No cut.
If it came down to let's say you had eggs, nothing was happening, it came down to it, would you cut an egg or would you never
egg cut? Oh, yeah. I mean, if I would only cut if another member of the clutch had pipped.
Right. Okay.
Well, if another member of the clutch has pipped, then and something wasn't overdue, then I'd cut.
Okay. Red Chondro Neo or yellow Chondro Neo?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go red.
All right. Pre-first shed meal or post-first shed meal? This is relating to snakes, obviously.
Yeah. I think it would be post.
Okay. Yay imports or boo imports?
On average, boo.
Ooh, okay. Favorite imported lizard?
Blue tree monitor.
Nice. Respect. Okay. Biggest lizard kept?
Spencer's monitor.
You still have them?
No, I do not.
Oh, wow. Dude, you had Spencer's? I don't want to stop this podcast. Wait, you had Spencer's?
I did.
Wow. How long ago?
Not too long ago. It was a guy up here that got them, and he didn't have the room for it. Long story short, didn't have the room for them. He asked me if I wanted to buy them, and I know my setup and my situation. I'm like a no-go big monitor guy, just because I don't have the facilities, I think, to accommodate. Yeah. So I was like, no, they're a lot of money, and I'm not gonna spend. Anyways, he's like, well, what if I gave them to you on a breeding loan? And I was like, Oh, okay. Sure. We can try that. Right.
Well, in that case, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. So he did give them to me on a breeding loan, and they were really cool, but they were young when he gave them to me, and they looked sexually dimorphic as a pair. But I had my suspicions after watching them and watching their behavior, and it ended up being two males, I'm pretty certain. So I was like, buddy, sorry, man, these are two dudes. I'll give you your lizards back.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All right, smallest monitor kept.
Brevicata.
To spray a reptile or to not spray a reptile? Like with water, like mist. Shh.
Oh, spray them.
Cool.
Warm water, though. Warm, not cold. Nice warm water.
Nice.
There.
Respect. Yep.
That's the caveat. Yeah.
Yay sports or boo sports?
Yay sports.
Yay, favorite sport?
Hockey.
Oh, favorite hockey player of all time?
Favorite hockey player of all time?
Yep.
I don't know. It'd have to be Bobby Orr, buddy.
Bobby Orr.
Bobby Orr.
That guy's a legend. Gee, my boy Matt Summers, huge hockey guy, so he talks about this shit all the time.
Yeah.
Steak or fish?
Fish.
Favorite fish?
Salmon.
Ooh, nice.
Sashimi.
Sashimi. Yeah, that's my shit. Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Van Halen.
Yes, thank you. Fuck.
Yeah.
Nothing against Sammy, but come on, please.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
All right. West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
Ooh, I got to say I'm partial to West, buddy, for sure.
All right. Favorite West Coast rapper?
Favorite West Coast rapper?
Yep.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say likely Tupac.
Nice.
I think on average I like West Coast better, but my favorite rapper of all time was Biggie, who's East Coast. So,
right.
But I think I like West Coast better. It's better driving,
And the thing is, if you're a fan of Biggie and Tupac and your favorite coast is the West Coast, that means you love Tupac. It is what it is. I mean, and you love Biggie, but Tupac is already, you said enough. Let's see. Hold on. Where we at? Little word association. First thing to come to mind: milk,
honey,
substrate,
mulch,
nest box,
plywood,
egg box,
dollar store container,
incubation temps,
85,
stuck shed,
tweezers,
Instagram trolls,
MJ.
Oh, what the fuck? This fool just called me a troll. God.
I'm kidding, buddy. I'm kidding.
Fucker, that was good. I wasn't ready for that.
I'm kidding. No, I'm not on
bitch.
Instagram enough to know any trolls, buddy. I don't know.
That was good. I'm not gonna lie. That was good. Okay, listen. If you could breed any snake, what snake would you breed?
Amazon basins.
Wow, what a killer. All right, you saved it. You saved it with that one. That's the cream. That's the cream of the crop. Hey, Brandon, I gotta say, man, I enjoyed Unfiltered, but this right here really, really like made the connection, I feel like. And thank you so much for this episode. I can tell you right now, you got a lot of new monitor people in the live chat that I haven't seen, all excited to be here. So thank you for bringing these new eyes to the channel. But what do you have to say to all your supporters out there? And after you give them a shout out, I want to know, where can people buy your production? So first off, what do you have to say to all your supporters, and let people know where people can actually look at your stuff and find what you have available?
Okay, so again, I said this last time, my social media presence is terrible because I'm an old man now, and it's foreign to me. But I am redoing a website, and I'm having a new website coming up here in the next few months, which will be totally interactive and updated and updatable with availability and beautiful pictures of everything and all that stuff. So I do know that that's my downfall. Typically, if you want to buy something, it's you see my Facebook page, Instagram, even my old website. Message me through there, and I will talk to you that way. That's the way I operate, right? One of the reasons for me doing it that way and needing to talk to somebody rather than just ordering from a website is the fact that I'm in Canada and most of my customers are not. So in order to export a monitor, I have to get CITES permits, which I need to make sure people are aware of before they just, pop a credit card online and pay for something.
100%.
And I can explain that, in text and stuff on the website, but a lot of people don't even comprehend what that means. So that's one of the reasons where it's more beneficial to message me directly, and I don't have just a click on this and purchase it, because my stuff is all CITES and there is a bit more to doing it. So, but yes, I will have a new website, CanadianColdblood.com, up and running in the next, I would say by the end of April, and it should be really good. And I'm gonna, I'll have the YouTube channel and videos up and running. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to everybody that's, loyal customer, I mean, guys that have purchased things and I talk to all the time, and just people that are interested in videos and watch and, like things that I post, thanks very much. I appreciate it. And I should try and be more active on social media. But yeah, man, I mean, it's great. I love doing this, and I love the people that I talk to. And, like I said, if you have questions, man, shoot me a message. And, if you needed to talk to me, I have no problem talking to people. So, I know sometimes when I message, or respond in text or whatever, it may seem curt or short. That's not really who I am. I much rather talk in person. So, but yeah, so.
Cool, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Fuck yeah. Well, Brandon, like I said, this will be another episode to be continued. This is just one chapter in the books, but I appreciate you so much. I will be in touch with you. Just in general, man, I appreciate you just fucking spitting this knowledge and making this episode what it was, man. But you enjoy the rest of your night, all right?
Yeah, well, no, thanks for having me, buddy. It's great as always. And don't wait a year. You want me back?
No, definitely not.
Talk to me in 6 months, and I'll tell you how the bug experiment is doing.
No, I'm going to talk to you in like 6 minutes, and we'll do your episode in 6 months. How about that? Your next episode in 6 months.
Yeah.
Cool?
Okay.
All right, listen, Brandon, you have a good rest of your night. And this is it for Brandon Van Asten, Canadian Coldblood.
Thanks, buddy.
I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you, man.
Take it easy, man.
Later. Fuck yeah. What an episode, guys. Oh, I took so much from this. You guys have no idea. I'm sure a lot of you guys did too. Appreciate everyone being active in the comments. I appreciate the super chats, all the love. Shout out to all my Patreon members. I'm going to see you guys right now, so don't even trip. I appreciate you guys hanging tight. So real quick, if you guys want to tap in after the episode, talk a little bit more, see exactly what the week is, what's to come with this week, well, then I would head over down to the link below and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. So here's the Trap Talk Patreon page where I keep the link of the right here. But I ain't going to show you the rest because you motherfuckers are going to try to sneak in. But right here, only to my Trap Talk Patreon family members, we have the Trap Talk Zoom session going down right now. So before I let you guys go, we're going to have a really big week this week as far as Trap Talk podcasts go. So I hope you guys are ready because tomorrow for New Breeder on the Block, we have somebody that I feel is well due and needs to get his name out there because he has clutches that he has produced last year that has mandarin in it, chocolate, and I'm talking ball pythons, obviously. So all my ball python people, we got to give it up tomorrow for my boy Andrew Lyons at Redwood Reptiles, going down tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, right here on Snake Trap Sessions. It's going to be live. It's going to be lit. Make sure you go give him props, and I will tap in with you guys tomorrow, man. But yeah, man, trappers, I'll see you guys soon. I appreciate all the love and support. Again, thank you to Brandon Van Asten for tapping in with us and dropping that knowledge. But I'll check you guys tomorrow. I'll check you trappers right now in a bit. I'm out.